Chapter 85. Yang Dingtian's body shot towards Gan Lang like a cannonball. Gan Lang's claws also reached his eyes. They were still bloody and ferocious, but in Yang Dingtian's eyes, they were no longer a threat. He had seen through Gan Lang's trick. The sword in his right hand locked onto Gan Lang's right claw, and the flame feather in his left hand chopped down like lightning. Pig-slaying swordsmanship's third move, beheading. Whoosh! Fresh blood spurted out. Gan Lang's huge arm was chopped off and flew dozens of meters away. Gan Lang, who was already a demonic beast, couldn't feel any pain. His bare arm was still smashing towards Yang Dingtian. His left and right bloody claws were still grabbing towards Yang Dingtian's eyes. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword's 8th move, Annihilation. Yang Dingtian's sword in his right hand was like a starry sky, and like a storm of flowers, it swept towards Gan Lang's bloody claws. Whoosh 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 whoosh, sword sparks flew everywhere, and fresh blood spurted out. Gan Lang's bloody claws and his left arm shattered inch by inch, then exploded inch by inch, and disappeared inch by inch. In less than half a second, they were completely crushed, turning into a bloody mess. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian's right hand pierced into Gan Lang's chest, instantly piercing his heart. The flame feather in his left hand flashed red. Pig-slaying swordsmanship's third move, beheading. Gan Lang's huge head flew up into the sky, and fresh blood spurted out from his neck for dozens of meters. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword's third move, Annihilation. The sword in his right hand that pierced Gan Lang's chest shook violently in his body, and a dazzling sword sparks flew out. Bang! With an explosion, the sword sparks bloomed to the extreme. Gan Lang's huge body exploded, and his bones were completely crushed. Just like what Yang Dingtian said, this body-ripping maniac had killed countless people in his life. Today, he would let him taste the end of being torn into pieces. While countless blood flowers were falling, Yang Dingtian's figure retreated with lightning speed, avoiding the blood rain that filled the sky. He slowly withdrew his sword and stood upright. The thousands of disciples in the square went silent at first, then burst into an uproar. Countless people shouted Yang Dingtian's name, and countless fiery gazes fell on Yang Dingtian. In the previous battle, Yang Dingtian had gained the support of countless Cloud Sky City disciples. Even though the cultivation level of this group of disciples was very likely higher than his. But Yang Dingtian's stunning performance was enough to conquer anyone. On the high platform, First Elder Yang Yan and the others had extremely grave and ugly expressions on their faces. Qin Shaobai had completely lost his arrogant attitude from before. He sat in his seat with an icy expression as he stared fixedly at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian turned around, facing Yang Yan on the stage. The second round of the wheel battle had ended, and now there was only one round left. As long as he won the third round, Yang Dingtian would obtain the final victory today, and he would be able to participate in next year's City Lord contest. Now, the biggest suspense was who would be the third person to challenge Yang Dingtian. In order to kill Yang Dingtian, Qin Shaobai had placed the powerful Gan Lang in the top 10 list as a precaution. No one had thought that Yang Dingtian would be able to break through to the Xian martial artist realm in 5 days, but Qin Shaobai had still arranged for Gan Lang just in case. However, Qin Shaobai was not prepared for the possibility that Gan Lang would lose to Yang Dingtian. He did not even consider the possibility of that happening. Now that Gan Lang was dead, would Yang Yan, Tang Buizhao, and the others' plan to kill Yang Dingtian be completely ruined? Would they arrange a second chess piece to kill Yang Dingtian? The shock on Tang Buizhao's face had yet to fade. He slowly walked out and coldly said, Yang Dingtian has won the second round. Now, who wants to be the third challenger? Go on stage and fight with Yang Dingtian. As long as you defeat Yang Dingtian, you will be able to stay in Cloud Sky City. After he finished speaking, Tang Buizhao looked at the remaining 8 people. Originally, there were 10 people who had lost in the elimination round, but now 2 of them had been killed by Yang Dingtian. After hearing Tang Buizhao's words, none of the 8 people made a sound, and none of them stood out. Who wants to be the third challenger to fight with Yang Dingtian? Tang Buizhao asked again. Still, no one responded. It seemed that these 8 people were scared out of their wits. If no one came out, then Yang Dingtian would automatically win the wheel battle. Although Tang Buizhao did not want to see this situation, he had no choice but to coldly say, I will count to 5. If no one comes out, then Yang Dingtian will be the final winner. 5. 4. The square was completely silent. Everyone stared at the remaining 8 people, waiting to see if anyone would step out to fight. 3. 2. 1. I will fight. I will challenge Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, a slender figure slowly walked out from the 8 people. Everyone was shocked. Who was this person? Gan Lang was so powerful, but he died under Yang Dingtian's sword. Who was this person? How dare he come out to fight? That person was covered in a black robe. With a sword in his hand, he walked onto the stage. Although he couldn't see his face clearly, Yang Dingtian was able to sense a familiar aura from his body. Everyone widened their eyes, waiting for the challenger to reveal his face. Yang Dingtian, I remember telling you before that I will not let you go. That person slowly lifted his robe, revealing his handsome and cold face. Tang Li, Tang Buizhao's son, Tang Li. The moment Tang Li revealed his true face, everyone exclaimed in shock. Shameless, at this moment, not only Yan Yan and Madame Shimen, but also the thousands of disciples of Cloud Sky City were furious. How could a person be so shameless? The opponent actually arranged a second chess piece to kill Yang Dingtian. Tang Li, Cloud Sky City's young talent, a 4-star mystic martial warrior. Among the 20-year-old disciples in Cloud Sky City, he was one of the top. How could he be defeated in the elimination battle? A 4-star mystic martial warrior was 5 levels higher than Yang Dingtian. A mere difference of 5 levels was nothing. The most fatal thing was that he was fighting above his level. A mystic martial warrior was 1 level, and a mystic martial warrior was another level. As long as he was fighting above his level, it was impossible to win. Even if Tang Li was only a 1-star mystic martial warrior, his mystic chi was several times more than Yang Dingtian's, let alone a 4-star mystic martial warrior. If I didn't come back, then you would have been eliminated from Cloud Sky City. In order to kill me, your father paid a huge price, Yang Dingtian said. I was going to leave Cloud Sky City anyway because I will soon be the son-in-law of Northwest Qin City, Tang Li said coldly. Then, Tang Li pulled out a long sword and said sternly, all right, enough nonsense. Draw your sword. Shameless. Shimen Lai shouted and pulled out his sword. He faced Great Elder Yang Yan and said coldly, Great Elder, in order to kill Yang Dingtian, you don't even care about your face. You are going to do such a shameless thing in front of thousands of Cloud Sky City disciples. Yang Yan's facial muscles twitched. He said coldly, I didn't know anything about this. However, there are no rules that prevent Tang Li from challenging Yang Dingtian. Shimen Lai was furious. He turned around and faced the thousands of disciples in the square. Brothers of Cloud Sky City, are you going to watch this ugly thing happen? Are you going to watch Cloud Sky City's honor be trampled on? Do you agree to this shameless competition? Tang Li's appearance had already angered many Cloud Sky City disciples. Now that Shimen Lai was angry, most of them stood up and shouted, no, no. Shameless, shameless. After someone started it, more and more people joined the crusade and protested. Tang Buizhao's expression changed. What? Are you guys trying to rebel? Sit down immediately. However, no one sat down. Thousands of disciples stood up straight and protested to the Elder Guild. They wanted to seek justice for Yang Dingtian. Tang Buizhao looked at Yang Yan. With so many people angry, it would be difficult to offend them. Taking a deep breath, Tang Buizhao said loudly, Tang Li, why do you want to compete with Yang Dingtian by hook or by crook? Give everyone a reason. Tang Li's expression turned cold. I'm not competing with him. I'm dueling with him. Because Yang Dingtian killed my good friend Yang Qi. I'm taking revenge for Yang Qi. As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled. As a disciple of the Yang family, Yang Qi was quite popular. He had been missing for a few days, and now Tang Li was saying that Yang Dingtian killed him. If that was the case, then Tang Li did have a reason to duel with Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, all the Cloud Sky City disciples' morale weakened. Ha ha ha. Shimin Lai suddenly laughed. Tang Li, you said that Yang Dingtian killed Yang Qi. What evidence do you have? Tang Li said coldly, 6 days ago, Yang Qi found out that Yang Dingtian went to the Red Wilderness to hunt monsters. He said he was going to find trouble with him. Later, Yang Dingtian came back, but Yang Qi didn't. He disappeared without a trace. If it wasn't Yang Dingtian who killed him, who else could it be? What a joke. Shimin Lai laughed. Yang Dingtian was just an initiate at that time. Yang Qi was much stronger than him. If you said that Yang Dingtian killed Yang Qi, who would believe it? Tang Li smiled coldly. Then today, before Yang Dingtian killed Gan Lang, who would believe it? Instantly, the two sides engaged in a war of words, swords drawn and bows bent. In the end, Shimin Lai, Madame Shimin, and Shimin Yan Yan drew their swords. On the opposite side, Tang Bo Zhao, Tang Xian, Shimin Yan, and dozens of people from the Elders Guild drew their swords. They were about to fight on the high platform in front of thousands of Cloud Sky City disciples. Both sides were about to fight. Who dares to fight? Suddenly, Yang Yan shouted. Instantly, it was as deafening as thunder, silencing all the noise. Then, Grand Elder Yang Yan slowly walked up to the high platform. He looked at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, Yang Qi is my grandson. Tang Li said that you killed him. Then tell me, did you kill him or not? Yang Dingtian shook his head. Fine. Swear on City Lord Shimin's spirit that you didn't kill Yang Qi. If you lie, then City Lord Shimin's spirit won't rest in peace. Yang Yan said coldly, if you swear on City Lord Shimin's spirit that you didn't kill Yang Qi, then you can refuse to accept Tang Li's challenge. Yang Dingtian was silent. Yang Yan said coldly, you have two choices. First, swear to prove your innocence. Second, fight with Tang Li. You must choose one of the two. Otherwise, both sides will fight. Suddenly, Yang Yan's voice was filled with cold threats. Both sides supported Yang Dingtian. Shimin Lai and Yan Yan were at an absolute disadvantage. Once they fought, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, I didn't kill Yang Qi, but I won't swear on Martial Uncle Shimin's supreme honor. So, I choose to fight with Tang Li. However, I have one more request. If I win, I ask Grand Elder to return Yin Yan's Phoenix Flame sword. Grand Elder Yang Yan's face turned cold and his muscles twitched. He slowly said, it's a deal. Yang Dingtian slowly turned around and faced Tang Li. He pulled out the Night Owl Strange Blade and prepared for today's final battle. The Night Owl Strange Blade was enough to be listed as a divine weapon. Now, the real battle that belonged to it had arrived. Chapter 86. Tang Li's Xian Qi level should be about 5 times that of Yang Dingtian. His speed was about twice that of Yang Dingtian. Therefore, this battle was completely different from Gan Lang's. Gan Lang's specialty was his speed, and his moves were tricky and vicious. Therefore, he killed more than 10 Xian martial warriors when no one was paying attention. However, once his moves were seen through, it would be very easy to defeat him. Just now, after Yang Dingtian saw through his moves, he was able to fight with ease. In just a few seconds, Yang Dingtian had cut him into pieces. However, Tang Li was different. The difference between Yang Dingtian and him was the most direct difference in energy and speed. With the profoundness of his moves, it would be very difficult to make up for it. Because Xian Qi was the king of this world, it represented a person's true strength. Therefore, this battle would be much more difficult than the one with Gan Lang. Because this was a battle between Xian Qi and energy. The difference of 5 times was too difficult to make up for. Yang Dingtian, if I were you, I would swear an oath on Shimen Wuya. He died a long time ago, so what if he was cut into pieces in hell? Tang Li sneered in a voice that only Yang Dingtian could hear. You're too stupid. Great Elder Yang Yan saw your stupidity and proposed this condition. Then, you really came to die. Tang Li didn't directly start the battle with Yang Dingtian, but spoke first. Although Yang Dingtian was incomparably angry, he didn't pay attention to him. He just stared coldly at him like an arched beast, ready to attack at any time. By the way, let me tell you who Yang Qi is. Whether he dies or not has nothing to do with me. This idiot offended a lot of people. Who knows who killed him? I don't think you killed him. After all, you were just an enlightener at that time. Tang Li continued with a smile. The reason I killed you was for Qin Shaobai. After all, I'm about to become the son-in-law of the Northwest Qin family. Yang Dingtian still ignored him. Don't worry, after you die, your Shimen Yanyan Qin Shaobai will take good care of it for you. After he has enjoyed it enough, he will give it to his brother Qin Huayu. It will show the deep affection between brothers. Tang Li continued with a smile, it's a pity that I can't get a share of it. Otherwise, I've been drooling over Shimen Yanyan for many years. I remember that I wanted to peek at her bathing several times, but I was beaten up every time. After Qin Shaobai got Shimen Yanyan, I asked him to let me see Shimen Yanyan's body, or even touch it. After all, I killed you for him. As expected, Yang Dingtian's breathing became rough, and his heart was filled with rage. Yang Dingtian originally thought that he wouldn't be angry after hearing such vicious provocation, but when this bastard in front of him used such despicable words to talk about Yan Yan, he couldn't help but be angry. It seems that only one of us can live today. Yang Dingtian coldly said, either you die, or I live. Tang Li sneered, I already told you in front of the Hidden Technique Pavilion, I will definitely kill you. Don't talk nonsense, let's fight. Kill. Kill. In Tang Li's hand was a huge blood blade that weighed 200 pounds. This person was not only a 3-star Xian martial warrior, but he also had extraordinary strength. Therefore, the huge blood blade in his hand was especially shocking. The sound of it tearing through the air was like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves, causing people to tremble in fear. On the other hand, Yang Dingtian's 3-feet-long strange blade had a strange shape. It was like a twisted piece of iron, and didn't have any fierce aura. Just by looking at the two weapons, there was a world of difference. The strange blade in Yang Dingtian's hand didn't even have the qualifications to carry the shoes of Tang Li's blood blade. With a loud sound, Yang Dingtian and Tang Li fiercely collided with each other like Mars colliding with Earth. The hard ground suddenly cracked, and broken stones flew everywhere. Bang! The huge blood blade in Tang Li's hand suddenly cracked, but he didn't move, and his expression didn't change. On the other hand, Yang Dingtian fiercely retreated a dozen steps, and a stream of blood violently spurted out of his mouth. In an instant, the weapons clashed, and an incomparably huge amount of Xian Qi energy passed through the weapons and fiercely drilled into Yang Dingtian's body. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's chest felt like it was suddenly hit by a huge rock. All the veins in his body felt like they were suddenly torn apart, and all the bones in his body felt like they were broken inch by inch. He fell into incomparable pain. In the first move, Yang Dingtian actually chose to meet force with force. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. They didn't understand why he did this. His advantage was clearly in swordsmanship. Why didn't he use the mysterious swordsmanship to fight? Instead, he competed with Tang Li in Xian Qi. This was completely the case of the weak fighting against the strong. Yang Dingtian did this deliberately. He wanted to test how strong Tang Li's Xian Qi was. He wanted to test just how strong a profound Qi attack his body could withstand. Now, the results of his test were out. Seeing that Yang Dingtian only retreated a dozen steps and spat out a mouthful of blood after receiving his full force attack, Tang Li's face was shocked. He didn't expect Yang Dingtian to be so tenacious. According to Yang Dingtian's Xian Qi level, his Xian meridians would have already been broken, and his internal organs would have become a pile of mud. If you can withstand one of my blades, then how about 10 or 20? Tang Li coldly said. Then, he once again gathered all the Xian Qi in his body and poured it into his blood blade. Suddenly, a mass of red blood light spread out from the giant blood blade, which looked even more domineering and ferocious. Sky Devil Blade. Tang Li roared, and the blade in his hand suddenly chopped down at Yang Dingtian. The momentum was incomparably powerful. The fourth move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, dig out the heart and lungs. The strange sword in Yang Dingtian's hand, like a poisonous snake, snaked out, and met Tang Li's blood blade. This move, dig out the heart and lungs, could not only seal the enemy's ice blade, but also move the enemy's weapon away and quickly dissipate the force. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's sword directly stuck to Tang Li's blood blade. Yang Dingtian's wrist shook, and was about to dissipate the force on Tang Li's blade. However, in an instant, an incomparably powerful Xian Qi energy surged and drilled into Yang Dingtian's body. Puff! Yang Dingtian's body suddenly bounced back, staggered a dozen steps, and spat out another mouthful of blood. Yang Dingtian's move failed because Xian Qi was not a force, but an instantaneous energy, which could not be transferred at all. Xian Qi was indeed the king's way. The huge gap in Xian Qi was really difficult to make up for with moves. After 2 moves against Tang Li, Yang Dingtian actually spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Many disciples in the square showed a worried look on their faces. Their feverish minds suddenly became somewhat sober. Yes, Yang Dingtian's performance just now was extremely amazing, but he was only a Xian martial artist. The profoundness of moves was not very useful. Xian Qi was everything in this world of martial arts. So, don't have too high expectations of Yang Dingtian just because of his amazing performance. Yang Dingtian swallowed a mouthful of blood and looked at Tang Li, who was sneering arrogantly in front of him. The gap in Xian Qi energy was really difficult to make up for. You have no hope. Tang Li sneered, in this world, no one can win a battle that is beyond their cultivation level. Yes, in the past 100 years, no one was able to win a battle that was beyond their cultivation level. The most famous battle that was won was 300 years ago, when the Wooden Sword Castle's young master, Li Tianshao, fought against the Northwest Qin clan's third young master. Li Tianshao was 1 cultivation level lower than the Qin clan's third young master, but he still won in that trial by duel and killed the Qin clan's third young master. But that was because Li Tianshao had turned into a demon. He became the biggest traitor in the history of the Taekwondo League. Yang Dingtian gently wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The first test, he spat out blood. The second time, he tried to use a profound sword move to neutralize Tang Li's saber, but it failed and he spat out blood again. 2 tests. Spitting out blood twice. But it also allowed Yang Dingtian to understand Tang Li's habits, tactics, and his sky demon technique. Now, it was time to start the final battle. The final method was also the most dangerous method. Close combat, putting oneself in a desperate situation and fighting to survive. Get close to Tang Li's body and use a profound sword technique to take his life. After observing the 2 moves, Yang Dingtian realized that Tang Li's sky demon saber art was indeed powerful and tyrannical. The Xian Qi energy could be stacked several times in one slash. But in terms of moves, it could be said to be extremely simple and straightforward. So once Yang Dingtian got close, it would be very easy for him to use his sword technique to neutralize the sky demon saber art. But without a doubt, this was also the most dangerous move. Because once he got close, as long as he was hit by Tang Li's saber, he would definitely die. Yang Dingtian could defend against Gan Lang's sword, but he couldn't defend against Tang Li's sword. Because Tang Li's Xian Qi was several times more than his, he couldn't defend against it at all. Once he got close, Tang Li would be able to slash his body. No matter how profound his sword technique was, no matter how simple Tang Li's saber technique was, Yang Dingtian's sword wouldn't be able to block it. Because Tang Li's speed was twice his, and his Xian Qi was 5 times his. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's final battle strategy was definitely to place himself in the jaws of death and fight to survive. Phew. Yang Dingtian exhaled slowly and looked at Tang Li, who was 20 meters away. He had to organize an attack, a perfect attack. If he failed, if there was any mistake, then the one who would die would be him. A few seconds later, Yang Dingtian calculated all the combinations of sword moves in his mind. If Tang Li's reaction wasn't wrong, then Yang Dingtian's attack should be effective. Then, the only thing left was to get close to Tang Li by 3 steps, at least a sword's distance. How to get close to Tang Li, this was probably the most difficult part. Because Tang Li's speed was twice Yang Dingtian's, and his Xian Qi was 5 times stronger than Yang Dingtian's. How to get close was the most difficult and also the most dangerous part. Yang Dingtian chose to get close to Tang Li. Slowly walk closer. That's right, slowly and swaggeringly walk closer. Step by step, he got closer to Tang Li. All of a sudden, everyone was shocked. Was Yang Dingtian crazy? This was an act of seeking death. If he walked over like this, Tang Li could attack at any time. With such a slow speed, Tang Li could kill him at any time. Just like this, Yang Dingtian walked to 3 steps in front of Tang Li. The arrogant Tang Li didn't attack. I held the bloody sword in my hand and sneered disdainfully. At this moment, the two of them were only 1 meter apart, just a sword's distance. Tang Li's sneer gradually became ferocious and cruel. Then, he slowly raised the sword in his hand. Yang Dingtian slowly transferred all of his Xian energy into the night owl's strange blade. Immediately, the strange blade let out a trembling sound as it received a 20% increase in Xian energy. Let me tell you something, Yang Dingtian suddenly said. Speak. This is your last chance to speak. Tang Li sneered. I killed Yang Qi. I killed him in the wilderness. Then, I threw him into the lava abyss and destroyed his corpse. Yang Dingtian said in a low voice that only Tang Li could hear. Tang Li was stunned. At that time, Yang Dingtian was just an enlightener. Unexpectedly, he killed Yang Qi. Therefore, Tang Li's mind shook. Yang Dingtian's eyes turned cold. At this moment, the decisive kill was coming. Clang! Yang Dingtian was like a dormant beast. He suddenly burst out. The night owl's strange blade in his hand suddenly exploded with an incomparably dazzling and sharp light. The first move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, stabbed the throat and let blood. Yang Dingtian's sword was like a meteor. With the fastest speed, he used the energy from both sides to stab at Tang Li's neck. Tang Li was shocked. At this time, he could choose to retreat. His speed was faster than Yang Dingtian's. However, he didn't retreat. He displayed a very stunning move. He leaned forward and dodged Yang Dingtian's sword that was about to pierce his throat. Then, he immediately counterattacked. The bloody blade in his hand burst out a blood-like red light. He also slashed at Yang Dingtian's waist. It was an extremely sharp and violent blade. At this time, Yang Dingtian should retreat and avoid it. But he didn't. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, selfless. Suddenly, the sword in his hand suddenly became solemn and majestic. His body didn't avoid it. Instead, he collided with Tang Li's bloody blade. Put yourself in death and fight to live. This was putting yourself in death and fight to live. The seventh move of pig-slaying swordsmanship, one split in two. Under everyone's horrified eyes, young Dingtian slammed into Tang Li's bloody blade like a martyr. The owl blade in his hand was aimed at Tang Li's chest. He slashed down sharply. The owl blade burst out a brilliance that had never been seen before. Kill Tang Li, now. Whether he could kill Tang Li or not depended on this moment. Yang Dingtian used his own life as a bet. He made a posture of perishing together with Tang Li. He used all his strength to kill Tang Li. Bang! Tang Li's blade fiercely slashed at Yang Dingtian's lower abdomen. Yang Dingtian's sword also slashed at Tang Li's chest. Puff! Blood spurted out. Yang Dingtian flew out for more than 10 meters and fell to the ground. Tang Li was still standing in the same place. His chest suddenly cracked open and blood spurted out. In the field, there was silence. They looked at this shocking scene. Put yourself in death and fight to live. Yang Dingtian used his own life as a bet to kill Tang Li. Now, he was going to succeed. Everyone was waiting for Tang Li to fall. They were waiting for Yang Dingtian to create another miracle. Tang Li looked down at the bloody mark on his chest. His eyes trembled, his hands trembled, and his whole body trembled. 1 second. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, everyone was waiting for him to fall to the ground. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Tang Li burst into laughter. Then, he tore the clothes on his upper body, revealing his strong upper body and a metal net. Yang Dingtian, you're not the only one who has a treasure armor. I have one too. Tang Li laughed and said, but your weapon is really powerful. It directly cut through my dark iron silk and cut half an inch into my chest, breaking 5 of my ribs. Tang Li laughed and coughed while spitting out blood. Put yourself in death and fight to live. You're really decisive and amazing. Tang Li said, if I didn't have the dark iron silk, I'm afraid I would really die under your sword. But, you can't kill me. Then, the one who will die now is you. Tang Li's eyes were filled with infinite anger and killing intent. Then, he walked slowly towards Yang Dingtian with the bloody saber. He wanted to cut Yang Dingtian into pieces. Although Yang Dingtian's fatal strike didn't kill him, it caused him to suffer an unprecedented injury. His cultivation would regress by 2 years. Tang Li walked with the steps of the Grim Reaper. With a shocking killing intent, he approached Yang Dingtian step by step. And Yang Dingtian was still lying on the ground, motionless. After 20 steps, Tang Li stood beside Yang Dingtian and whispered, you can die in peace. Shiman Yan Yan and Shiman Ning Ning, we will take care of them for you. We will take good care of them in bed. Now, you can die. Then, Tang Li used all his strength and slashed down with his saber. Stop, we admit defeat. Yan Yan rushed out and shouted, stop, we will leave Cloud Sky City. Tang Li's saber suddenly stopped, waiting for Yang Yan's order. Great Elder Yang Yan's eyelids twitched and he said, it's too late to admit defeat now. Yang Dingtian, die. Tang Li roared and aimed at Yang Dingtian's neck, slashing down fiercely. No. Yan Yan screamed and was about to faint. At this moment, Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his eyes and stabbed out with the sword in his hand like a poisonous snake. When I said put yourself in death and fight to live, I was referring to now. You're wearing a treasured robe, I know that. Chapter 87. Seeing that Yang Dingtian was safe and sound, Tang Li's face suddenly showed a look of horror. How could it be? Just now, his sword completely blasted the energy of qi to the extreme, and directly cut Yang Dingtian's sea of qi in his lower abdomen. How could Yang Dingtian be fine? For a warrior, the most important part of the body was not the chest or the throat, but the lower abdomen. Because that was where the sea of qi was. Once hit by powerful qi, the sea of qi would be directly destroyed, and all the xian veins in the body would be broken. At that time, although he might not die, it would definitely be more painful than death. Tang Li just now used all his strength, and Yang Dingtian's sea of qi should be completely destroyed, but why was he fine? Of course, Yang Dingtian was fine, because he was wearing the deep sea xian clothes. The most powerful part of the deep sea xian clothes was not that it was invulnerable, but that it could resist the powerful damage of qi. Tang Li's sword cut at Yang Dingtian's lower abdomen was fierce, but most of the qi had been swallowed and absorbed by the deep sea xian clothes. Only a small part of it really entered Yang Dingtian's body. Seeing Yang Dingtian's strange sword stabbed at the vital part of his lower body like a poisonous snake, Tang Li was suddenly scared out of his wits. At such a close distance, he was completely unprepared, and Yang Dingtian's sword was so sharp and mysterious. In horror, Tang Li used his fastest speed to cut down and block Yang Dingtian's sword. Yang Dingtian's body spun and bounced up, and like a beast, he rushed at Tang Li. In horror, Tang Li kept retreating. The sword in Yang Dingtian's hand stabbed like a storm. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, all living beings. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, boundless. Suddenly, Tang Li's whole body was completely covered by Yang Dingtian's sword light. At first, he was desperately blocking, but in terms of swordsmanship, he was much worse than Yang Dingtian. So, in the end, he simply kept retreating, and retreating quickly. He just didn't run away directly. Thus, under everyone's astonished gazes, the situation changed drastically. Tang Li, who originally had the upper hand, was now being suppressed by Yang Dingtian. His chest was heavily injured, and several of his bones were broken. As he quickly retreated, blood crazily gushed out. Countless amounts of profound qi also flowed away. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before his speed slowed down. At that time, Yang Dingtian would be able to stab him in the chest and take his life. But at this moment, Tang Boizhao suddenly shouted, "Tang Li, why are you running? Your profound energy is still much stronger than his. Why are you running?" Tang Li's body suddenly trembled. Right, why was he running? Even though he was injured, his profound qi was still much stronger than Yang Dingtian's. He clearly knew that Yang Dingtian's swordsmanship was brilliant, so why did he still want to tangle with him? The reason why Tang Li was like this was because he was frightened by Yang Dingtian just now. Moreover, the wound on his chest was really scary, so he suddenly lost his rational reaction. After being yelled at by his father, he suddenly sobered up. He gathered all the profound qi in his body and fiercely flicked it. Suddenly, his body was like a slingshot, and he violently retreated more than 10 meters, directly escaping from Yang Dingtian's terrible sword entanglement. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian lost the chance to lure him in and kill him. However, Yang Dingtian didn't chase after him. He just looked at the wound on his chest, and then coldly stood in the same place. Tang Li, who had retreated more than 10 steps, lowered his head and looked at the wound on his chest with one hand holding the bloody sword. He took out an elixir and swallowed it. Immediately, the wound on his chest stopped bleeding. He knew that he had to end the battle quickly. "Yang Dingtian, I won't give you any more time, and I won't give you any more chances. 3 slashes to decide life and death." Tang Li said coldly, "Your trick just now made me confused. Now, let's use our profound qi to talk, and you will definitely die." After saying that, Tang Li suddenly rushed to Yang Dingtian and directly slashed down with his sword. With the most profound qi, the most powerful strength. Yang Dingtian raised the night owl giant sword and fiercely resisted. Dang! With a loud sound, Tang Li's bloody sword fiercely slashed on Yang Dingtian's sword. Yang Dingtian's body suddenly trembled, and the stone slab under his feet suddenly shattered. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Tang Li's full-strength slash was really powerful, and it directly caused Yang Dingtian to suffer internal injuries. The second slash. With a roar, Tang Li fiercely slashed down with his sword. Yang Dingtian's giant sword forcibly resisted another slash. Bang! With a loud noise, sparks flew. Yang Dingtian's body was short, and the clothes on his arms were torn inch by inch. The skin on his arms was torn inch by inch, and blood oozed out. Blood spurted out from his mouth, nose, and even ears like an arrow. It was as if Yang Dingtian had reached his limit after enduring it head-on. With a little more force, Yang Dingtian seemed to be about to fall. There was still the last slash, and Yang Dingtian seemed to be completely unable to resist. Immediately, everyone who was concerned about Yang Dingtian had their complexion turned pale as they were horrified. Yan Yan directly pulled out her sword and was about to rush to the stage. "Don't go." Ningning directly grabbed Yan Yan's hand and said, "Don't worry, Tang Li will die in the third slash." "How is that possible? Yang Dingtian is going to be killed." Yan Yan said. "Believe in sister," Ningning said softly. At this time, Tang Li saw that Yang Dingtian was covered with blood, especially his whole face, which was all wet with blood. He was more seriously injured than him. Tang Li suddenly smiled cruelly. "There is still the last slash, Yang Dingtian, you are dead." Suddenly, Tang Li's body suddenly bent, and he unreservedly summoned all his profound qi and channeled it into his bloody sword. His bloody sword suddenly looked as if it was stained with blood, bright red and dazzling. This was Tang Li's last slash, and he had exhausted all his profound qi to kill Yang Dingtian. "Die!" Tang Li roared loudly, as deafening as thunder. Then, his bloody sword whistled, with a murderous aura, and slashed towards Yang Dingtian's head. For some reason, Tang Li's face changed at this time, and his eyes became particularly strange. Everyone almost couldn't help but close their eyes, as they couldn't bear to see Yang Dingtian directly split into two halves. Yang Dingtian, who was covered in blood, raised the night owl giant sword in his hand and said coldly to Tang Li, "This is also my last slash to kill you. Die!" Yang Dingtian suddenly shouted. Holding the night owl giant sword with both hands, he faced Tang Li's bloody sword and slashed diagonally. Clang! There was a loud, deafening sound. One sword and one saber, fiercely slashed together. There was a dazzling spark. Tang Li's bloody sword was suddenly cut in half and flew out directly. After Yang Dingtian's night owl giant sword cut the bloody sword, it still swept up and slashed towards Tang Li's neck. It seemed that Tang Li's head was about to fly straight into the sky and be cut off like Gan Lang. However, Yang Dingtian didn't. His night owl giant sword stopped on Tang Li's neck and didn't cut off his head. "I still don't want to kill you. It's better to let you become a cripple," Yang Dingtian said coldly. "Pa!" Then, he slapped Tang Li's head with the sword, and directly smashed Tang Li to the ground. Then, Yang Dingtian stepped forward, aimed at Tang Li's lower abdomen, and stabbed down with the sword. Bang! It was like the sound of a balloon bursting. Tang Li's sea of qi in his lower abdomen was destroyed by Yang Dingtian. Tang Li didn't die, and Yang Dingtian didn't kill him. However, he had completely become a vegetable, a cripple. Instantly, the square fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at the final scene on the martial arts stage. What happened? How did this happen? Shouldn't Yang Dingtian be the one to die from the last slash? Why did it suddenly become Tang Li's head that flew out? Tang Li's bloody sword was a famous treasure, how could it be cut in half? As for Tang Bosheo, it was as if he was struck by lightning, standing there motionless. Even great elder Yang Yan lost his ability to react all of a sudden. Yang Dingtian slowly turned around and bowed towards the high platform. The third battle has ended. Great elder Yang Yan, may I stay in Cloud Sky City and participate in next year's City Lord battle? After hearing Yang Dingtian's shout, everyone suddenly seemed to wake up from the shock. Then, the whole square seemed to have been thrown into a bomb. Countless people exclaimed in disbelief, and thousands of people exclaimed at the scene in front of them. How did this happen? The reason was simple. The moment Yang Dingtian's night owl huge sword pierced Tang Li's body, Tang Li's death was decided. This was because Yang Dingtian's night owl huge sword had poison on it. Even though it was very weak, it was still very deadly. A large part of the night owl's strange blade was the claws of the millennium owl, and before the millennium owl died, it was poisoned by the deep-sea Xian poison. Even though it burned its own Xian qi to destroy the poison, there was still a part of the poison that remained in every inch of its body. Of course, the night owl huge sword also had it, even though it was very weak. After Yang Dingtian cut open the flesh on Tang Li's chest, the deep-sea Xian poison entered Tang Li's blood, followed the blood into the Xian meridians, and flowed towards the Sea of Qi. Even though it was only a fraction of the deep-sea Xian poison, once it entered the blood, this extremely weak deep-sea Xian poison would cause a chain reaction, crazily devouring the poison Xian qi, nerves, blood, and everything else. If Tang Li felt something was wrong and immediately used his Xian qi to suppress it, then he might be fine. But he didn't, and continued to fight with Yang Dingtian crazily. Especially the last 3 slashes, he used all his strength to kill Yang Dingtian. His Xian qi circulated crazily and rushed out crazily, seeking death even more. Finally, the weak deep-sea Xian poison reached the most important Xian meridians in Tang Li's body. At that moment, it blocked and paralyzed his Xian meridians, and Tang Li's Xian qi was instantly cut off. That was why his face had a demonic light and his eyes had a green light. Thus, Yang Dingtian took the opportunity to slash Tang Li's blood blade that didn't have Xian qi infused in it. Then, he slapped Tang Li into a vegetative state, and pierced his sea of qi, turning him into a complete cripple. Yang Dingtian won, but he didn't seem to be unhappy. But, being able to win was still a good thing. Now, it was up to the Elders Guild to see if they had any other schemes, and if they would make any trouble. So, Yang Dingtian asked Yang Yan loudly, to force Yang Yan to state his position. Yang Yan looked at Yang Dingtian with a complicated expression, his gaze uncertain. At this moment, thousands of Cloud Sky City disciples all stood up and stared at Yang Yan, giving him silent pressure. They were afraid that the Elders Guild would use despicable means again, so they wanted to give Yang Dingtian silent support. If the Elders Guild were to use any more schemes, then the thousands of disciples present would really rebel. Taking a deep breath, Yang Yan slowly said, "I hereby announce that Yang Dingtian has won the elimination battle and is officially a Cloud Sky City disciple. He is qualified to participate in next year's City Lord martial arts competition." Once these words were spoken, thousands of cheers erupted. Long live, long live, long live Yang Dingtian. Thousands of Cloud Sky City disciples cheered loudly. Today's Yang Dingtian had left an indelible mark in the hearts of thousands of Cloud Sky City disciples. In just 5 days, he had broken through from an initiate to a 9-star mystic martial artist. Not only had he defeated Sun Wan and Gan Lang, but he had even killed the 5-star mystic martial artist, Tang Li, and turned him into a cripple. They had never heard of such a miracle, but Yang Dingtian had done it in front of thousands of people. Why couldn't such a person become the future lord of Cloud Sky City? Yang Dingtian turned around and faced Yan Yan. He wiped the blood off his face and smiled slightly. Yan Yan ignored everyone's gaze and jumped down from the high platform. Then, like a little bird, she pounced towards Yang Dingtian. "Husband, I was wrong. Punish me, no matter what." "Thank you, brothers." Chapter 88. After hearing Yan Yan's words, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly startled, and his heart swayed slightly. For a moment, Yang Dingtian didn't know how to answer. He never would have thought that Yan Yan's first words after reuniting would be this. However, it was also because of this that he felt that Yan Yan was so cute and charming. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to speak, Yan Yan suddenly tugged at his sleeve and pouted her small mouth. Yang Dingtian looked in the direction of her small mouth and saw a young man in white walking towards him. It was Qin Xiaobai. After announcing Yang Dingtian's victory, Yang Yan, Tang Buizhao, and the others immediately left. They were unwilling to see Yang Dingtian being cheered by thousands of people. Qin Shaobai actually didn't follow them. When he was 10 steps away from Yang Dingtian, Qin Shaobai bowed and said, "Senior brother Yang, you're really amazing today. To break through from an enlightener to a mystic martial artist in 5 days, this is unheard of." At this moment, Qin Shaobai had a gentle smile on his face. He didn't have any of his previous arrogance or hostility. It was as if he wasn't the one who schemed to kill Yang Dingtian today. "Well said," Yang Dingtian said indifferently. He wasn't that thick-skinned and didn't know how to act. Moreover, in front of such a great enemy, there was no need to act. Everyone knew that as long as there was a chance, they would kill each other. Originally, Yang Dingtian thought that Yan Yan would scold Qin Shaobai or at least mock him. Who knew that Yan Yan didn't do that? She only frowned slightly, and her beautiful face revealed an extremely disgusted expression. It was as if the handsome Qin Shaobai in front of her was a disgusting maggot. However, Yan Yan's disgusted expression was the most poisonous. It directly pierced through Qin Shaobai's shameless line of defense. His expression suddenly changed, and he couldn't continue acting as a cultured and refined person. "In the future, when we're all in Cloud Sky City, let's get closer. But now that Shuiyu is in your arms, senior brother Yang, please enjoy yourself," Qin Shaobai said with a laugh. Then, he turned around and left. "This is the most disgusting man I've ever seen," Yan Yan whispered into Yang Dingtian's ear, but it was loud enough for Qin Shaobai to hear. This was another fatal blow to the self-proclaimed confident Qin Shaobai. After hearing these words, even Yang Dingtian, whose back was facing him, trembled violently. He, Qin Shaobai, could make people love him and make people go crazy. They could also make people fear them and hate them to the core. But he couldn't make her feel disgusted, and he couldn't make her feel disgusted. This was undoubtedly a fatal blow to his charm and confidence. Then, Yang Dingtian walked over. Originally, Yang Dingtian thought that Shimen Lai would come over and pat Yang Dingtian's shoulder, and then say good job, or step forward to hug him. However, Shimen Lai did not do so. Instead, he held his sword in front of his chest and bowed towards Yang Dingtian. He was very solemn and very respectful. His meaning was very obvious. He treated Yang Dingtian as the future Cloud Sky City Lord, the person he was about to pledge his loyalty to. Shimen Lai had always been this meticulous. After raising his head, Shimen Lai's eyes were filled with passion. He said, "Yang Dingtian, you've done better than I expected. Foster father didn't misjudge you. Yan Yan didn't misjudge you either." "Thank you, big brother," Yang Dingtian said. "Thank you for everything you've done for us. Foster father gave me everything. Cloud Sky City is my everything, so I will always stand by your side," Shimen Lai said. "This is my responsibility." After speaking, Shimen Lai immediately turned and left. He wanted to rush back to Black Blood Castle. Madame Shimen, who came after him, looked at him like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. To be honest, although she had always supported Yang Dingtian, she didn't show much affection towards him. This time, her gaze was very gentle. "Yan Yan is very naughty. You have to teach her well in the future. However, Yan Yan is also very kind. You have to love her well in the future," Madame Shimen said gently. "Yes, madam," Yang Dingtian said. "Yes, I believe you will. You're a very good boy," Madame Shimen said gently. Then, Madame Shimen said to Yan Yan, "Yan Yan, you have to listen to your husband in the future. You can't be willful and naughty anymore. Do you understand?" Yan Yan said sweetly, "I understand. Furthermore, when you were his wife, you weren't naughty and disobedient. Now, you're lecturing me. Stupid girl, I'll tear your mouth apart." Madame Shimen's face instantly turned red. Then, her eyes turned red as she recalled the sweet days with Shimen Wuya. Then, she quickly averted her gaze to prevent her tears from falling. "Mother, in the future, Yang Dingtian and I will be filial to you. We'll use the fastest speed to give birth to a grandson for you to play with. Yan Yan stepped forward and held her mother's hand as she said gently. Madame Shimen instantly smiled and struggled free from Yan Yan's hand. She said angrily, "You really don't know how to be embarrassed. You can say anything." Then, her beautiful eyes became filled with yearning again. She said, "If I can really have a grandson to hug, that would be great." "Alright, I won't disturb you two anymore. Mother is going back," Madame Shimen said. Then, she slowly walked away. Only after Madame Shimen and the others had left did Ningning come over. However, her face was a little red, as if she had a guilty conscience. At this moment, she couldn't walk, so she was riding on a white crane. That white crane was very obedient. It didn't need Ningning to say anything. It would go and stop when it wanted. After arriving in front of Yan Yan, Ningning directly took out a bag and handed it to her. She said, "This is Yang Dingtian's medicinal soup. Let him soak in it for 2 hours at night." Then, she quickly took out an even smaller medicine bag and stuffed it into Yan Yan's hand. She said, "This is for Yang Dingtian to drink. He's injured, so don't be too crazy." Yang Dingtian's face instantly turned red. It was very clear that this small medicine bag was some kind of nourishing medicine. After Yan Yan took it, she moved closer to Ningning's ear and said, "Big sister Ningning, our previous agreement still counts." Hearing Yan Yan's crazy words, Ningning's face instantly turned red. She said in a low voice, "Crazy girl, you're about to die. I should sew your mouth shut." Then, Ningning rolled her eyes at her and said, "Moreover, you're just a little vinegar jar. Don't pretend to be generous. That night, you saw Yang Dingtian in my room. Even if we didn't do anything, you still went to drink and act crazy." "Nonsense, nonsense." Yan Yan pinched Ningning's little mouth and then pouted. She said, "You guys have been together for the past few days. Who knows if you did anything unspeakable?" Ningning's face turned red. She said, "I'm not going crazy with you. I'm going back." Then, Ningning rode the white crane back to her valley as if she was escaping. She didn't dare to stay for a second longer. Suddenly, only Yan Yan and Yang Dingtian were left on the battle stage. Yan Yan first looked at Yang Dingtian strangely, making him feel uneasy. After all, he and big sister Ningning weren't innocent. Unexpectedly, Yan Yan didn't ask anything. She directly pulled his hand and said, "Let's go home." "Okay." Yang Dingtian immediately let out a long sigh of relief. Then, under countless envious gazes, the beautiful Yan Yan held Yang Dingtian's hand and walked back to her house. That's right, envious gazes. In the past, they were completely crazy with jealousy. Now, at most, they were envious and even more blessings. When they passed by the square, many Cloud Sky City disciples still didn't disperse. They made way for Yang Dingtian and spoke with enthusiasm. "Yang Dingtian, we support you. Young Master Yang, we support you." Some people even directly called out the 3 words, "Young Master Yang." Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He only responded to everyone with a gentle smile. He held Yan Yan's little hand and walked towards her house. In this battle, he had indeed won many people's hearts. At this time, it was already late at night. Inside Yan Yan's house, Yang Dingtian was lying in a wooden tub. Inside was a steaming bath. Before bathing, Yang Dingtian had already soaked in the medicinal bath for more than 2 hours. Today, his injuries looked frightening, but they weren't very serious. His Xian meridians were slightly damaged, but after taking some medicinal pills, it should heal quickly. As for the injuries on his skin and bones, after soaking in the medicinal bath, he didn't feel any pain. At this time, Yan Yan was meticulously combing Yang Dingtian's hair. She was combing it strand by strand. After returning to her house, Yan Yan became quiet. Her face was still red, and her breathing was slightly hurried. However, she was still very quiet, a gentle silence. The two of them were silent. In front of many people, Yan Yan was generous and intimate with him. However, when there were only the two of them, she seemed a little awkward, with a sweet and shy awkwardness. She was like that. Her mouth was fierce, but her heart was shy. I'm sorry. Because of my willfulness, you had to suffer these past few days. Yan Yan suddenly said, punish me. No matter how you punish me, you can beat me or scold me. Yang Dingtian leaned on the wooden tub, closed his eyes, shook his head, and said with a smile, with your appearance, who would be willing to beat or scold you? Yan Yan's face couldn't help but turn red. How about I call you Big Brother from now on? Yan Yan suddenly said, calling Yang Dingtian is strange. Moreover, in our place, a good woman can't directly call her husband by his name. Calling him Lord Husband seems too proper. You're older than me by half a year. I'll call you Big Brother from now on, okay? Okay. Yang Dingtian said. Moreover, I said so many heartless words. Are you angry? Yan Yan gently asked. I'm not angry. Yang Dingtian said, your heart is soft, so no matter how heartless your words are, they won't be truly heartless. However, some people's hearts are cold, so no matter how gentle their words are, they will still be heartless. Yes. Yan Yan gently said, but you have to believe me. I keep saying that I want to go to the Netherworld Sea, but I actually don't want to go. I will definitely not leave without saying goodbye before you come back. I know that kind of woman is the stupidest and most annoying. That's right. Yan Yan was a very smart woman. At least when it came to relationships, other than occasionally being unable to control her temper and sometimes being stubborn, she was very smart. Moreover, after you come back, even if you fail to break through, I will still be by your side, even if we are chased out of Cloud Sky City together, Yan Yan said. Yang Dingtian vigorously nodded. He absolutely believed Yan Yan's words. Yan Yan was this kind of person. When you were down, regardless of whether it was because of her character or her loyalty, she would stay by your side and not leave you, regardless of whether you loved her or not. For a woman to be able to do this, she was a respectable woman. Yan Yan was not only a respectable woman, but more importantly, she was also a cute woman. This was because there were many respectable women who could accompany you and comfort you when you were down. However, when they were proud, they would give you the cold shoulder and stay away from you. Especially when the two of you had a conflict and the person in the wrong was her, due to their high self-esteem, they would choose to stay away. However, Yan Yan did not do that. She directly ran over to admit her mistake and acted coquettishly. I was afraid that after I came back, even if I successfully broke through, you wouldn't be nice to me, Yang Dingtian said with a smile. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. Yan Yan sweetly said, that kind of woman is even stupider and more annoying. After I drank that night, I was so rude to you. Weren't you angry? Yang Dingtian asked. That time when you hit me in that place? Yan Yan said. If I get angry over that, then my mother doesn't want to live anymore. In the past few decades, she and father have fought countless times. But she and father are the happiest couple in the world. Then, Yan Yan chuckled and said, and didn't you say it before? If a woman doesn't hit for 3 days, she will go up to the roof and tear down the tiles. And you were beaten even more ruthlessly by me. And you also said that spanking a woman's butt is not considered as hitting a woman. The two people fell into silence again, but the atmosphere in the room became even weirder. Yang Dingtian also couldn't resist such an atmosphere, so he closed his eyes. The two people fell into silence again, but the atmosphere in the room became more ambiguous and magnificent. Yang Dingtian also couldn't resist such an ambiguous atmosphere, so he closed his eyes. Next, Yang Dingtian comfortably finished bathing. Yan Yan put on comfortable and soft clothes for him. Husband, have you slept with a woman before? Suddenly, Yan Yan asked, and her breathing suddenly became rapid. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled, and he said with a slightly trembling voice, I don't know, I shouldn't have. Today, I'll let you sleep, okay? Yan Yan said with a trembling voice. These words didn't go overboard, but when put together, it was like the strongest aphrodisiac. Especially when it came from the mouth of a pure and flawless peerless beauty, Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly swayed. Then, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a burst of softness at the back of his head, but Yan Yan held him in her arms. Then, she lowered her face and kissed the top of his head. From now on, it's time for our wedding night. Yan Yan said with a trembling voice, but you have to close your eyes. If I don't tell you to open them, you can't open them. You have to listen to me, okay? Okay. Yang Dingtian's voice was hoarse, and his heart seemed to jump out of his chest. Then, he felt Yan Yan slightly leave his body. Next, there was the sound of rustling and undressing. A woman's body fragrance suddenly rippled in Yang Dingtian's nose. Okay, you can open your eyes. Yan Yan said with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian opened his eyes, and suddenly, a snow-white beautiful body appeared in front of his eyes, completely immersing the man. Brother, I'm very beautiful, right? Yan Yan asked. Yes. Yang Dingtian said with heavy breathing. Yan Yan said with a trembling voice, Husband, we've been married for a long time. But, we've never been a real husband and wife. From now on, let's be a real husband and wife, okay? Yang Dingtian's heart jumped, and he said, Are you sure you're ready? Yan Yan closed her beautiful eyes and said softly, Husband, I'm ready. Then, she raised her face and waited quietly. Only her hands kept twisting together, showing the anxiety in her heart. Yang Dingtian's heart softened, and he gently caressed Yan Yan's little face and moved closer. Chapter 89. Yan Yan was completely prepared to give herself to Yang Dingtian. Was it all because of her feelings? She didn't know. It was very complicated, and she couldn't figure it out. Perhaps it was because of her feelings, or perhaps it was because of guilt. Yang Dingtian gently stepped forward, hugged Yan Yan, and kissed her gently. He had kissed Yan Yan before. However, it was just a simple kiss before. This time, it was a little different. Yan Yan was clearly completely prepared, but her delicate body instinctively stiffened. Yang Dingtian suddenly said, Yan Yan, before I start, can I ask you a question? What question? Yang Dingtian asked. What happened to you 5 years ago? Yang Dingtian said, I asked Sister Ningning, and she said she wanted you to tell me personally. Shiman Ningning also said that when Yan Yan gave him her heart, she would tell him what happened 5 years ago. Because this was the deepest pain in his heart. Just as Yang Dingtian finished asking, Yan Yan's delicate body suddenly trembled. Then, her body temperature instantly dropped. It went from boiling hot to icy cold. I don't deliberately want to know anything, but because this is your inner demon, the inner demon that torments you. When you can tell me frankly, that is when you can truly let it go, Yang Dingtian said. A woman would only share the deepest pain in her heart with the person she truly loved. Yang Dingtian said that only when he completely obtained her heart would he do the most intimate things. And the symbol of obtaining her heart was the painful past 5 years ago, the deepest secret and pain in Yan Yan's heart. Yan Yan's beautiful face suddenly turned pale, and there was incomparable pain on her face. She opened her beautiful eyes wide and looked at Yang Dingtian, as if she wanted to say something. But then, she closed her small mouth, and then fell into a painful struggle. After a few minutes, Yan Yan suddenly hugged Yang Dingtian's waist and cried, I'm sorry, I can't do it, I can't do it. Yang Dingtian sighed softly and said, It's okay, I was too anxious. Not only was Yang Dingtian too anxious, but Yan Yan was also too anxious. Yang Dingtian was anxious, and Yan Yan was anxious. In her view, giving her body to Yang Dingtian was like a ceremony. As long as she gave her body to him, it was as if she could completely say goodbye to the past, as if she had completely established a certain relationship. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. What did he do? He only won a dispute with Yan Yan, and his persistence was rewarded. To put it more bluntly, he only succeeded in breaking through to the 9-star Xian martial artist, and had the qualifications to compete for the position of the city lord. He didn't seem to have done anything for Yan Yan, and he wanted her to open her heart to him. Perhaps he was really too anxious. She still couldn't talk about the heart-wrenching past. Perhaps Yang Dingtian still hadn't completely occupied her heart. It's okay, it's okay. Yang Dingtian hugged Yan Yan, and then kissed her hair, and said, we still have time, let's take it slowly. That night, Yang Dingtian made a bed on the floor, and Yan Yan slept on the bed. When he woke up the next morning, Yang Dingtian still found tears in the corner of Yan Yan's eyes. The next few days, Yang Dingtian still lived in Yan Yan's house, but the two of them lived in separate rooms. It wasn't that the relationship between the two of them had thinned out, but it was to avoid the awkwardness of being even more intimate. Yan Yan sometimes also slept with Madame Shimen, but all the time, she was like a virtuous wife, taking good care of Yang Dingtian. Whether it was dressing, combing his hair, making tea, or cooking, she didn't look like a rich young lady at all. It was even as if because of guilt, she was even more gentle and meticulous to Yang Dingtian. However, the two of them didn't talk much because of some relationship, because for a moment, they didn't know what to say. The two of them saw each other as family, but there seemed to be a distance between them and the intimate couple in the depths of their hearts. Ningning noticed the strange relationship between the two of them, and couldn't help but ask. Yang Dingtian told her what happened that night. Sister Ningning pouted and said softly, you idiot, you can ask after you've had sex. Then, Sister Ningning said in an almost inaudible voice, after a woman gives herself to you, she will slowly give you everything in her heart. You don't even understand such a simple principle, you're really stupid. If we hadn't been intimate at the inn that afternoon, do you think I would be so good to you, so close? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but blush. Idiot, you missed such a good opportunity. You can only wait for the next opportunity. Ningning pointed at Yang Dingtian, if there's a next opportunity, you have to do that thing, understand? Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be stunned, although I want to, is that thing really that important? Of course it's very important. Sister Ningning rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian, you idiot, you don't know anything. However, in the next few days, Yang Dingtian still couldn't find the legendary opportunity. Moreover, Yang Dingtian still had something important to do, and that was to practice martial arts. Although he had successfully broken through to become a 9-star mystic martial artist, it was far from enough. Not to mention Shimen Yan and Shimen Ju, even Qin Shaobai was far from being his opponent. Qin Shaobai wasn't even 17 years old, but he was already a 9-star mystic martial artist. Moreover, in order to become the Lord of Cloud Heaven City, he used the Mystic Dissociation Pill to wash away his previous martial skills and learned the Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword, which caused his cultivation to drop by more than one level. Ningning even said that the 9-star mystic martial artist title was just a lie. His actual strength had far surpassed it. After all, he was one of the few young geniuses in the entire Northwest region. After advancing by leaps and bounds in the yin-yang 5 elements formation, Yang Dingtian truly felt the slowness of normal cultivation. Although Yang Dingtian had worked hard to the extreme, his talent had also reached the extreme, and his martial skills had also reached the extreme. Although his cultivation speed was much faster than others, he still felt it was slow. Every day, he would practice martial arts for a few hours, and about 2 to 3 hours of mystic breathing technique. After 10 days like this, Yang Dingtian's mystic qi only broke through 1/5 of the level. At this rate, it would take nearly 2 months to break through one level. Of course, Yang Dingtian's cultivation speed already made countless people go crazy with jealousy, because it was 2 to 3 times faster than theirs. At this rate, it would only take 10 years for another powerful martial honorable to be born. Breaking through to the martial supreme level in 10 years, this was a speed that shocked the world. Even Yang Dingtian's master, Dongfang Minmi, couldn't do it, and Shimen Wuya couldn't do it either. Currently, in the entire world, only one person could do it, and that was Dongfang Bingling. However, this was far from enough for young Dingtian. At this rate, he would at most break through to the Mystic Martial Master level in the City Lord Martial competition next year, which would be the same level as Qin Xiaobai. At that time, there would be no need to compete at all, and he could just admit defeat. Although the two of them didn't speak much, Yan Yan had always seen Yang Dingtian's anxiousness and was anxious in her heart. Finally, after a meal, Yan Yan once again whispered that she wanted to use the yin-yang devouring mystic technique, even though it could only help Yang Dingtian break through 1 or 2 levels at most. After saying this, Yan Yan was so embarrassed that her face and ears turned red. At this moment, although she was closer to Yang Dingtian in her heart, she was no longer as bold as before. Of course, Yang Dingtian rejected her, but he took this small opportunity to lightly flick Yan Yan's face. Ah! Yan Yan immediately cried out, and fiercely glared at Yang Dingtian. She said angrily, "I wanted to help you, but you hit me instead. I'm not going to talk to you anymore." Immediately, the two of them, who were originally a little awkward and cold, actually gradually recovered their intimacy because of this small flick. However, the two of them carefully maintained this intimate relationship, and didn't act rashly. Yang Dingtian was still diligently practicing martial arts every day, and his cultivation speed was still the same as before. He gradually became anxious in his heart. "Child, don't be anxious," Dongfang Minmi said. "At this rate, you will be able to break through to the Mystic Martial Warrior level in a month. Then, you can practice the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship." That's right, the pig-slaying swordsmanship was different from other martial arts secret manuals. For other secret manuals, there was a new secret manual to learn at every stage. However, the pig-slaying swordsmanship only had a new secret manual every 2 stages. In other words, Yang Dingtian needed to break through to the Mystic Martial Warrior level before he could learn the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. The pig-slaying swordsmanship is so mysterious, and it's different from other secret manuals. If you learn other second-stage secret manuals, your mystic chi will at most break through half a star. However, I believe that the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship will be a surprise, Dongfang Minmi said. Thinking of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel excited. The first stage was already so powerful, let alone the second stage. Moreover, Yang Dingtian was also very much looking forward to the breakthrough brought by the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Most importantly, he would be able to see Senior Shiwu Piaoyan again. He wondered if he had found the legendary Naga tribe in the second stage secret manual. After learning the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, you will leave Cloud Sky City and cultivate outside. That way, your progress will be much faster than now. Dongfang Minmi said, "You will cultivate while waiting for the Fire Cloud Devil Cave's earth fire to bloom and prepare to forge the Sword Soul Youngling Sword. This is the most important thing. During these few months of traveling outside, not only will you have to cultivate, but you will also have to find treasures so that you can enter the Fire Cloud Devil Cave to forge the Sword Soul Youngling Sword." "What treasures?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Fire Immunity Chilling Pearl." Dongfang Minmi said, "This kind of pearl is formed by the cold energy of the bottom of the sea for 10,000 years. It doesn't feel very cold to the touch, but it contains extremely powerful cold energy. Only by holding it can you enter the Fire Cloud Devil Cave, because there is a guardian overlord, the Heaven Fire Demonic Phoenix, which is a 1,000-year-old monster. Without the Fire Immunity Chilling Pearl, even a Grandmaster level expert would find it difficult to withstand its deadly flames, let alone enter the Fire Cloud Devil Cave." Fire Immunity Chilling Pearl. "Master, is it difficult to get this thing?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Although this thing is not priceless, it is almost priceless. However, if you go to the end of the southwest continent, there might be a surprise." Dongfang Minmi said, "Therefore, after you break through to the Mystic Martial Warrior level and learn the second stage of the pig-slaying sword art, go to the end of the southwest continent to cultivate. It is about 8,000 li away from here. The legendary Sea of Hades is in that direction. At this time, young Ding Tian was less than a month away from breaking through to the mystic martial warrior level. This meant that he only had less than a month left in Cloud Sky City. Suddenly, he felt a wave of reluctance in his heart. He was reluctant to part with Yan Yan and Ning Ning. These two were already the closest people to him in this world. However, in these years, he could not stop fighting. Break through to the mystic martial warrior level, learn the second stage of the pig-slaying sword art, go out to cultivate and obtain the fire immunity chilling pearl. 4 months later, the earth fire will bloom and he will enter the fire cloud devil cave to forge the sword soul youngling sword. This was what he had to do in the next few months. He hoped that he could achieve the greatest breakthrough in these few months. At night, Yang Dingtian and Yan Yan sat at the table and ate. Thinking that he was about to leave, Yang Dingtian was reluctant. After hesitating for a moment, he wanted to tell Yan Yan about this matter. However, Yan Yan's expression was very strange. She kept looking at Yang Dingtian with a strange expression, which made him very puzzled. Yan Yan, why do you keep looking at me like that? You are making me very nervous, Yang Dingtian said. That's right. At this moment, Yan Yan's gaze was like that of a wife who had caught her husband in bed. Husband, your sweetheart has come to the northwest continent, Yan Yan suddenly said with a strange tone. Sweetheart? Since when do I have a sweetheart? I only have you, Yang Dingtian said. It's your ex-wife, Dongfang Bingling has come, Yan Yan said. The way she addressed her was very strange. She called Dongfang Bingling ex-wife. However, when he heard this news, Yang Dingtian was greatly shocked. He said, Dongfang Bingling has come to Cloud Sky City. What is she doing here? She won't come to Cloud Sky City. Why would she care about Cloud Sky City? Yan Yan pursed her lips and said, she is just passing by the northwest continent. However, she is a fairy from the 9th heaven. Just by passing by, all the sects in the northwest continent went on a pilgrimage. Only our Cloud Sky City didn't go. The Northwest Qin clan's lord went to the seaside to personally welcome her. At this moment, Yang Dingtian no longer had any naive thoughts about Dongfang Bingling. He also had a clear understanding of her position in this world. She only had one position, and that was the future #1 person in the world. She was the only peerless genius in the world who could break through to the martial saint realm. Now, Yang Dingtian had a rough understanding of Dongfang Bingling's strength. How strong was she? She was not even 20 years old. In Cloud Sky City, after Shiman Wuya went, no one was her match. Even great elder Yang Yan was not. It was not wrong to say that she was a fairy from the 9th heaven. However, even so, she had only passed by, and all the sects in the northwest continent went to welcome her. This was too exaggerated. Dongfang Bingling was too arrogant. If she comes, then let her come. What does it have to do with us? Yang Dingtian did not say that it had anything to do with him. Instead, he said that it had something to do with them. It could be seen that he did not lack intelligence when it came to love. Don't you feel sour in your heart? I am a fairy from the 9th heaven, admired by tens of thousands of people. I am just an ordinary little girl. You must feel very disappointed, Yan Yan said coquettishly. TSK. Yang Dingtian directly spat and said, compared to Yan Yan, what is she? Is she as beautiful as you? In terms of pure beauty, the two of you are similar. However, is her figure as good as yours? I don't think so. Is she as cute as you? I don't think so. She is inferior to you in everything except martial arts. What does she have to be proud of? What's the use of being so good at martial arts? Is she going to use it to hit her husband? These words immediately made Yan Yan smile. Then, Yang Dingtian moved closer to Yan Yan's ear and whispered something. Yang Dingtian, you big hooligan. Yan Yan coquettishly complained. She threw down her bowl and chopsticks and ran in front of Yang Dingtian, pounding his chest. Yang Dingtian took the opportunity to grab her and said softly, let me feed you, okay? No, you hooligan. You know my secret, but do you know Dongfang Bingling? Did you peek at her? Yan Yan twisted her body and said. I didn't peek, I guessed. Yang Dingtian used a spoon to feed Yan Yan and said seriously, only Yan Yan has this unique trait. How can Dongfang Bingling have it? You stinky hooligan, you are a big hooligan. Yan Yan bit off the tofu in Yang Dingtian's spoon. I am also hungry, leave half for me to eat. Yang Dingtian opened his mouth to snatch the food. Yang Dingtian, you are so disgusting. Yan Yan quickly dodged, but Yang Dingtian tightly hugged her waist. The rest of the meal was extremely strange. Yang Dingtian's sweet words and his naughty hands were all over the place. So after eating for a while, Yan Yan was panting. After the meal, she looked like she was drunk, her face was red. After eating, Yan Yan finally gathered her strength to escape from Yang Dingtian's evil clutches. Then, she cleaned up the dishes with a red face. She also pricked up her ears, ready for Yang Dingtian to sneak attack and take advantage of her. Yang Dingtian felt the thick intimacy in the air and couldn't help but say in his heart, so this is also an opportunity for a breakthrough between a man and a woman. Thank you, Dongfang Bingling. That night, Yang Dingtian returned to Yan Yan's room, but he was still sleeping on the floor. Yan Yan also followed him, sitting on the floor and snuggling up. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't tease Yan Yan anymore. He just talked about trivial things in the dark. He changed the messy stories on Earth and told them to Yan Yan. It was strange that Yang Dingtian once told Yan Yan that he came from another world. But Yan Yan seemed to have completely forgotten about it. She never asked Yang Dingtian about the other world, as if she wasn't curious at all. Although the stories that Yang Dingtian told were adapted, they were obviously not from this world. But Yan Yan was just fascinated by the stories, and she never asked about the strangeness of the stories. Finally, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask, Yan Yan, I remember that I told you that I came from another world. Why didn't you ask anything about it? Before Yang Dingtian could finish, Yan Yan covered his mouth and said softly, Lang Jun, you are a person from this world. What do you mean you came from another world? I just said that you were dreaming. You are from this world. You are Yan Yan's husband. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian understood Yan Yan's thoughts. What she wanted was a real, loving husband. The so-called other world would give her a feeling of unreality. Yes, I am from this world. Everything before was just my dream. Yang Dingtian said softly, and then scratched her waist hard. Then he smiled and said, Now, is it real enough? Yan Yan was the most ticklish. After being scratched on the waist, she immediately rolled on the ground and begged for mercy. Okay, stop, stop, stop. If you scratch me again, I will die laughing. Spare me, spare me. Yang Dingtian let her go. Yan Yan lay on the ground and gasped. After recovering, she turned over and said, Husband, continue telling me stories. Then, the two snuggled and continued to tell stories. Just like this, Yan Yan fell asleep while listening to the story. After waking up and eating breakfast, Yang Dingtian went to the back of the mountain to practice martial arts as usual. Along the way, many disciples greeted him respectfully, even though Yang Dingtian's cultivation was not as high as theirs. Yang Dingtian nodded in response. At the back of the mountain, Yang Dingtian sat cross-legged on the ground and entered a new cycle of Xian Qi absorption. At this time, he was only half a level away from breaking through to Xian Martial Warrior. In about 20 days, he would be able to break through to Xian Martial Warrior. At that time, it would be time to leave Cloud Sky City. Long strands of Xian Qi entered Yang Dingtian's body bit by bit. It circulated in his Xian meridians and was refined into pure Xian Qi. Then, it flowed into his Qi Sea and gathered bit by bit. Just as he closed his eyes to refine the Xian Qi, there was a sudden rush of footsteps. Usually, at this time, no one would interrupt his Xian Qi absorption. Yang Dingtian could not help but open his eyes. The person who came was Shimen Lai. In his hand was a letter. Young master, a letter from Dongfang Bingling, Shimen Lai said. Dongfang Bingling wrote a letter to me? Yang Dingtian was shocked. He could not understand why Dongfang Bingling would write a letter to him. Yesterday, when he heard Yan Yan say that Dongfang Bingling had come to the northwest continent, Yang Dingtian felt that it had nothing to do with him. He did not expect to receive a letter from Dongfang Bingling today. Yang Dingtian took the letter and opened it. He was really curious. Why would Dongfang Bingling write a letter to him? What exactly was written in the letter? The handwriting on the letter was very good. It was full of mystery and elegance. It was just like Dongfang Bingling, cold and arrogant. So much so that it was unapproachable. The handwriting on the letter was very good. Even if the words in this world did not reflect the charm of calligraphy, it was still full of mystery and elegance. It was just like Dongfang Bingling, cold and arrogant. The content of the letter was very simple. Senior brother Yang, good to see your letter. This time, I passed by the northwest continent and heard many rumors about you. My feelings are very complicated. After thinking about it, I want to have a chat with senior brother Yang. There is something important to discuss. Due to my identity, it is inconvenient for me to go to Cloud Sky City. Therefore, I will be waiting for you at Katkin Villa, 500 miles southeast of Cloud Sky City. Please come quickly. Junior sister, Dongfang Bingling. In this letter, Dongfang Bingling did not reveal much hostility. Yang Dingtian could not help but wonder, who sent this letter? Could it be someone pretending to be Dongfang Bingling? It was sent by Dongfang Bingling's personal sword servant, Shimen Lai said. Shimen Lai said, moreover, no one should be able to imitate Dongfang Bingling's handwriting, so there is no doubt that it is Dongfang Bingling's letter. Dongfang Bingling wrote a letter to invite him. Should he go or not? Soon, Madam Shimen, Shimen Lai, Shimen Ningning, Yan Yan, and Yang Dingtian sat in the room and discussed whether Yang Dingtian should go to Katkin Villa to see Dongfang Bingling. Don't go. I don't think there is anything to see, Ningning said. I don't like this woman. If I want to see Yang Dingtian, let her go to Cloud Sky City herself, Madam Shimen said. Shimen Lai said directly, I will follow young master's decision. In the end, everyone's gaze fell on Yan Yan's face. Perhaps on this matter, Yan Yan had the most right to speak. Dongfang Bingling's identity was special, and Yan Yan was Yang Dingtian's real wife. Go and see her. We must go and see her, Yan Yan said directly. I want to know what this pretentious woman wants to say. Yang Dingtian was about to speak when Yan Yan looked at him and said, Husband, we can't let others look down on us. How powerful is Dongfang Bingling? We don't even dare to see her. After Yan Yan spoke, Yang Dingtian smiled at her and did not speak again. Note, a 6,000-word chapter. Please vote. Chapter 90. The next day, Yang Dingtian set off on his horse. Accompanied by Shimen Lai, he headed towards the Katkin Manor 500 miles southeast to meet Dongfang Bingling. When Yang Dingtian was less than 10 miles away from Cloud Sky City, he suddenly heard an angry roar. Then, a red figure floated out of the forest and blocked in front of Yang Dingtian with a sword. Yang Dingtian, give me your life. Yang Dingtian took a closer look. It was Tang Guizhao's daughter, Yang Dingtian's fiancée, Tang Xian. At this moment, her face was filled with bone-piercing hatred for Yang Dingtian. You killed my brother. Today, I will chop off your head to avenge him, Tang Xian said coldly. Tang Xian said coldly, you're a top genius. I'd like to see if you're a match for me and if I can kill you. Yang Dingtian's gaze turned cold. I crippled Tang Li. He asked for it. Aren't you afraid of Cloud Sky City's laws for seeking revenge? Furthermore, I didn't kill him. I spared his life. My father killed him last night, Tang Xian said angrily. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was shocked. Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. This Tang Buizhao was actually so vicious that he even killed his own son. Tang Xian said coldly, "You turned him into a cripple. He might as well be dead. As for Cloud Sky City's laws, if I kill you here, who will witness it? The Elder Guild can't wait for you to die. They will only turn a blind eye. You are a genius, but right now, even 10 of you aren't my opponent. Today, you are dead. Go to hell." After saying that, Tang Xian circulated her celestial qi and stabbed her sword towards Yang Dingtian. Idiot! Shimen Lai, who was at the side, suddenly lifted his cloak. Without unsheathing his sword, he directly smashed it over. Bang! Tang Xian flew out like a kite. She spat out a mouthful of blood, but she wasn't seriously injured. Shimen Lai had shown mercy. Seeing that Shimen Lai was protecting her, Tang Xian's expression changed and revealed a trace of fear. "Woman, this matter is not over. Wait until we return to Cloud Sky City. We will definitely punish them severely." Shimen Lai said coldly, "Now, get out of my way. Otherwise, if I kill you, you will have died in vain." Finished speaking, Shimen Lai and Yang Dingtian spurred their horses and madly rushed forward. Tang Xian didn't dare to act rashly. She hurriedly hid to the side and looked at Yang Dingtian's departing back. Her eyes were filled with boundless hatred. She wished that she could kill Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai at any time. The Katkin Mountain Village, which was 500 miles away from Cloud Sky City, was actually a property of the Yinyang School. In the words of the Earth Era, it was one of the Yinyang School's consulates or offices in the northwest mainland. However, there was a rule stating that no sect was allowed to establish a stronghold in another faction's territory, so they could only hang the Tiando League's flag. This was the same for caravans and armies. As long as they hung the Tiando League flag, they could enter most of the territories in the world. This was because all the famous sects in the world were members of the Tiando League. The Katkin Mountain Village was a manor of about 300 acres. There were about 500 warriors from the Yinyang School in it. One of the most important reasons for building the Katkin Mountain Village was to monitor Cloud Sky City. In the evening, Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai had already arrived at the entrance of the Katkin Mountain Village. Instantly, they saw a very spectacular scene and couldn't help but take in a deep breath. This was because outside the entrance of the Katkin Mountain Village, there was a line of over 1,000 meters long. All of them were dressed luxuriously and were of noble status. They were all queuing up to be received by Dongfang Bingling. It seemed that Yan Yan was right. All the factions in the northwest mainland, big and small, had come to pay their respects. This Dongfang Bingling was really awe-inspiring. She was extremely prominent. Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai looked at each other, revealing a complicated expression. "Who are you?" Just as Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai got off their horses, two servants came up to them and asked. They looked very polite, but in fact, they were very arrogant and didn't look them in the eye. Why were the people from the Yinyang School the same as Dongfang Bingling? They were extremely arrogant. "Yang Dingtian from Cloud Sky City, Shimen Lai, is here to visit Miss Dongfang," Shimen Lai said. "Cloud Sky City." The servant's tone suddenly became a little strange and he raised his voice. Then, his face revealed a look of disdain and mockery. When the people who were queuing around heard that there were 3 people from Cloud Sky City, their faces revealed strange expressions. Part of it was hatred, part of it was disdain and mockery. Cloud Sky City's position had always been awkward. Although they were on the Tiando League's list, they weren't part of the 3 sects, 9 clans, and 27 groups. When the whole world talked about Cloud Sky City, there was only one thought: oh, Yinyang School's traitors. However, in the northwest mainland, many factions were still afraid of Cloud Sky City. Because Shimen Wuya had been in power for more than 10 years, he had destroyed countless sects and destroyed thousands of miles of land. However, now that Shimen Wuya was no longer around, they didn't mind expressing their hatred and disdain. At the bottom of the Yinyang school, the Yinyang school and Cloud Sky City had always been at odds. When the servant saw that the people around him had the same hatred as him, he couldn't help but become bolder. He said coldly, "Why are people from Cloud Sky City coming to my catkin villa? Do you want me to wash away the path you've walked? Hurry up and leave. Our catkin villa's entrance should have a sign saying that people and dogs from Cloud Sky City are not allowed to enter. Go, go, go." Then, the servants started to chase them away. The people who were queuing beside them all burst into laughter. Yang Dingtian was about to explode in anger. Dongfang Bingling wrote a letter to arrange a meeting, but in the end, she was humiliated at the entrance of Catkin Villa. "Those in charge, are you going to let this servant be so presumptuous?" Yang Dingtian shouted angrily. Suddenly, the entire place was silent. The servant also stopped and revealed a frightened expression. After all, humiliating Yang Dingtian was his personal action. He didn't receive any orders from above. He only did this to please Dongfang Bingling, even though Dongfang Bingling didn't even know that he existed. Yang Dingtian was so loud that the people inside heard him. However, no one came out and no one stopped him. It was obvious that the higher-ups of Catkin Villa were very happy to see this servant humiliate a person from Cloud Sky City. The servant seemed to have received great encouragement. His eyes suddenly widened as he shouted, "Oh, I remember who you are. Yang Dingtian, the man who wants to marry our fairy Dongfang. I've seen many toads who want to eat swan meat, but I've never seen someone as shameless as you. Why don't you look in the mirror? Who do you think you are? How dare you have wishful thoughts about our fairy Dongfang? Scram, scram immediately." Yang Dingtian coldly looked at the servant and then at the villa's gate. He sneered, "Dongfang Bingling, you're so arrogant. I don't want to see you." "Big brother, let's go," Yang Dingtian said. Then, he and Shimen Lai mounted their horses. "Wait." The servant coldly shouted, "Get off your horse and walk out. Who do you think you are, traitors of Cloud Sky City? How dare you ride your horse in front of Catkin Villa? Get off. Do you think you're Yan Yan Shimen and you can ride her whenever you want?" After saying this, the servant was about to pull Yang Dingtian off his horse. This servant actually dared to mention Yan Yan. Yang Dingtian's gaze turned cold and killing intent surged in his heart. He coldly said, "I didn't want to lower myself to your level, but since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Step over him." Yang Dingtian roared. Immediately, he and Shimen Lai galloped their horses and stepped over the servant's body. "You dare? Ah, spare my life." That wicked slave immediately let out a furious roar of horror. "Ah!" Then, there was a mournful howl. Before he could finish shouting, Yang Dingtian's horse sent him flying more than 10 meters away. Then, it suddenly galloped and ruthlessly stepped over his body. The sound of bones breaking could be heard. The servant spat out blood and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Suddenly, the surroundings were silent. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian in horror. They didn't think that he would dare to trample someone from Yinyang School half to death in front of Catkin Villa. As he rode his horse away from Catkin Villa, Yang Dingtian's gaze swept across the group of people who had just insulted Cloud Sky City. He coldly shouted, "You are all despicable." After saying this, Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai left without turning back. "Wait." Suddenly, there was a shout from behind them. Then, a snow-white figure shot out like lightning and landed in front of Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai. He coldly said to the two of them, "I am Lu Qingyan, the manager of the villa. The two of you dared to injure people in my villa and want to leave just like that. You are underestimating my Yinyang school." "It was that servant who sought his own death," Yang Dingtian coldly said. "Didn't you hear that servant humiliating me in public? Why didn't you come out and stop him?" "Oh. Since when did people from Cloud Sky City have the right to be so impudent in my Yinyang school?" Lu Qingyan coldly said, "Your Cloud Sky City is not legitimate. You are the descendant of a traitor. What can't you say? Since you injured people in front of my villa, don't even think about leaving. Stay here. Men! Lu Qingyan shouted. Suddenly, dozens of figures floated out and surrounded Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai. Clang, clang, clang. Then, dozens of people drew their swords and pointed them at Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai. Yang Dingtian was furious and said, Dongfang Bingling, is this why you called me here? There was still no response from within the Catkin villa. Big brother, let's kill our way out. Yang Dingtian coldly said. All right. Shimen Lai suddenly drew his giant sword and his entire body emitted a murderous aura. Yang Dingtian also slowly drew his night owl strange sword. Suddenly, the battle between the two sides was about to start. Stop! Finally, a delicate shout came from within the villa. Then, a beautiful figure floated over and landed beside Yang Dingtian as if she was weightless. This young girl had picturesque features and wore a long blue dress. She had a slim and graceful figure and was actually a great beauty. However, Yang Dingtian didn't like her expression and gaze. She was completely imitating Dongfang Bingling. She was arrogant, aloof, and as cold as ice, as if she was looking down on everyone in the world. He didn't know where her inexplicable sense of superiority came from. Greetings, Miss Ning. Lu Qingyan and the dozens of warriors of the villa immediately bowed down in unison. They were extremely respectful and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. You should be Dongfang Bingling's sword attendant, Ning Ruhan, her most trusted subordinate. Ning Ruhan didn't even look at the villa manager and the others. She slightly raised her beautiful eyebrows and looked at Yang Dingtian. She said with faint disdain, even Governor Shimen is so respectful when he comes to my Yinyang school. How can a small character like you be so domineering? Yang Dingtian said coldly, Miss Ning, please look at your status clearly. You don't have the qualifications to say such words. I'm the direct disciple of sect master Dongfang. In front of me, you're just a servant. When Ning Ruhan heard Yang Dingtian's words, her expression changed and her gaze turned cold. If I were you, I wouldn't say anything because anything you say will be interpreted as Dongfang Bingling's will. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Ning Ruhan's gaze towards Yang Dingtian was filled with hatred. She said coldly, Miss wants to see you. Follow me. After speaking, she turned around as if she didn't want to look at Yang Dingtian again. Yang Dingtian followed Ning Ruhan into the Catkin villa under everyone's slightly fearful gazes. At this time, everyone remembered that Yang Dingtian had another identity. He was the only successor of Dongfang Minmi. Note, thank you, please. Chapter 91. After entering the gate of the villa, there was a huge training field. After Yang Dingtian entered, he immediately received countless hostile gazes. This was because in their hearts, Dongfang Bingling was sacred and inviolable. Yang Dingtian actually wanted to marry Dongfang Bingling, which was the greatest blasphemy to a fairy. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian had already become a citizen of Cloud Sky City. Just now, he had publicly trampled on the people of the Yinyang school at the entrance of the villa. Therefore, the warriors in the training field all glared at him coldly. However, Yang Dingtian treated these gazes as though he didn't see them. After passing through a corridor and a garden, he arrived in front of an exquisite and luxurious pavilion. This was Dongfang Bingling's temporary residence in Catkin Villa. After entering, he immediately saw more than 10 people sitting in the main hall. Although these people's clothes were not as gorgeous as the group of people waiting in line at the entrance, their every movement carried the aura of a superior. Without a doubt, these people were all important figures in the Northwest continent. They were basically heroes who ruled over a region. However, with their noble identities, they were all sitting here waiting for Dongfang Bingling to summon them. Seeing Yang Dingtian walk in with Ning Ruhan, these people were slightly stunned. Then, their gazes all fell on Yang Dingtian's face. They were all very curious about Yang Dingtian's identity. Those who could sit here and wait were all important figures with more than 100 miles of territory. Yang Dingtian looked so young, so how could he be here? Wait here. I'll go in and report, Ning Ruhan said. Ning Ruhan said. Then, she walked in and left Yang Dingtian in the hall. She didn't even serve him tea. Finally, someone couldn't help but ask, may I ask where this young friend is from? Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian. As soon as Yang Dingtian's voice fell, there was suddenly a strange sound in the main hall. Then, everyone looked at Yang Dingtian with a strange gaze. Of course, they were all high-ranking figures, so they wouldn't be like the group of people at the door and directly mock them. Oh, so that's how it is. You really are a young hero. The middle-aged man who asked the question had an awkward expression on his face. He immediately sat down and looked straight ahead. Then, everyone present looked straight ahead. Some even avoided looking at him, as if they were feeling guilty. Yang Dingtian was confused. Cloud Sky City was in an awkward position. It was normal for all of them to look at him strangely, but why did they have to feel guilty? Before Yang Dingtian could figure it out, Ning Ruhan had already walked out and said to Yang Dingtian, come with me alone. Yang Dingtian said to Shimen Lai, big brother, just find a seat and sit down. The host is not sensible, so the guest should be more casual. I will be out in a while. All right. Shimen Lai casually found a seat and sat down. Then, he said to Yang Dingtian, if there's anything, just shout and I'll immediately rush in. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at him with mocking gazes. There were many experts here, so what was the use of rushing in alone? Okay, thank you, big brother. Yang Dingtian then followed Ning Ruhan into the inner hall and went up the stairs. Ning Ruhan's waist was as thin as a willow, so it wasn't obvious when she walked on the flat floor. However, when she walked up the stairs, it was obvious. Her back was like a willow tree, very moving. However, Yang Dingtian didn't like this woman, so he completely ignored her. Ning Ruhan suddenly stopped and frowned at Yang Dingtian, you walk in front. Yang Dingtian's expression turned cold, are you worried that I'll peek at you from behind? Take advantage of you. Don't worry, my wife Yanyan's figure is more than 100 times better than yours. You can question my character, but you can't question my taste. These words were so vicious that Ning Ruhan's expression changed. She immediately gritted her teeth and continued to walk up. When they arrived at a door on the second floor, Ning Ruhan coldly said to Yang Dingtian, young miss is inside. Go in by yourself and be careful what you say. Don't say what you shouldn't say and don't look at what you shouldn't look at. Young miss isn't someone an ordinary person like you can profane. Yang Dingtian didn't want to lower himself to her level. He took a deep breath and walked in. He was going to see Dongfang Bingling again. This woman had left an unforgettable mark in his heart. This unforgettable mark had nothing to do with the feelings between men and women. It was because this woman had trampled on his self-esteem and almost killed him. Even Shimen Wuya, who was the closest to him, was indirectly destroyed by her hands. Because she was his master's daughter, Yang Dingtian couldn't just treat her as an enemy. However, she was Yang Dingtian's biggest opponent in this life. Only by defeating her could Yang Dingtian regain his dignity in this life. After opening the door, there was another door inside. A pearl brocade curtain separated the room from the outside. Taking another deep breath, Yang Dingtian opened the curtain and walked in. The first thing he saw was Dongfang Bingling's back. At this moment, seeing Dongfang Bingling again gave him a feeling of being in another world. At this moment, although she was standing in front of him, she gave people the feeling that she was standing on the summit of a mountain 10,000 meters high. She was so high that it was impossible to reach her. Senior brother Yang, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Dongfang Bingling said. Her voice was still as beautiful and cold as jade. I feel like it's been a long time. Yang Dingtian, young Miss Dongfang, why are you looking for me? Please tell me directly. Dongfang Bingling slowly turned around. Suddenly, a beautiful and dreamy face appeared in front of him. Although Yang Dingtian had already seen her and hated this woman to the core, he still felt that the god of creation was miraculous. He was actually able to create such an absolutely beautiful face. This was really a face that was so beautiful that it made people feel suffocated. It even made many people feel ashamed of themselves. However, at this time, this face no longer had any attraction to Yang Dingtian. Senior brother Yang, after coming to the northwest continent a few days ago, I heard a lot of legends about you. Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes fell on Yang Dingtian's face. There was still not much hostility. At this time, Yang Dingtian knew why Dongfang Bingling did not have any hostility. Dongfang Bingling had brought him great harm, so in his heart, he hated her completely. However, in Dongfang Bingling's eyes, he had no weight. He was completely an insignificant passerby. How could there be any hostility? I heard that you created a great miracle, so I couldn't help but be curious. Dongfang Bingling said. Yang Dingtian suddenly frowned and said, just because of this, you called me here? Not really. Dongfang Bingling said, I called senior brother Yang here because I heard that you learned a set of very mysterious swordsmanship called pig-slaying swordsmanship. So, I want senior brother Yang to demonstrate it. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian flew into a rage. Yang Dingtian, rushed over hundreds of miles just to demonstrate the swordsmanship to you? Dongfang Bingling said, senior brother Yang, don't be angry. It's because I thought of another set of swordsmanship in this set of swordsmanship. I think there might be some kind of deep connection between them. What swordsmanship? Yang Dingtian asked. The hidden sect swordsmanship, Pasa Calamity Crossing Sword. Dongfang Bingling said. Hidden sect? Yang Dingtian was instantly shocked. He knew that everyone who heard this name would be shocked. This was because the hidden sect was absolutely supreme in this world. Even though the hidden sect stayed away from the world most of the time, every time the world was in trouble, the hidden sect would come out to save the world. In this world, no matter how strong the experts were, they would only fight for the second place in the world. Because the hidden sect would always be the number one in the world, and no one could surpass them. Dongfang Minmi was known as the number one in the world, but that was excluding the hidden sect. The hidden sect was extraordinary, so they were not included in the ranking of the experts in this world. It was always said that there were 3 sects in the world, Yin-Yang School, Xian Tian sect, and the hidden sect. It seemed like the 3 sects were on par. But in reality, in front of the hidden sect, the other 2 sects were nothing. The hidden sect was the unquestionable leader of the Tiando League, and the true ruler of this world. Anyone in this world, as long as the hidden sect said a word, they could easily rise to heaven, and they could also easily send them to hell. However, ever since the Temple of Annihilation came out of the Abyssal Ocean and started the War of Annihilation 200 years ago, the hidden sect once again turned the tide and saved the world. It had been 200 years since a disciple of the hidden sect was seen walking around the world. But once a disciple of the hidden sect appeared, that person would undoubtedly be the leader of the Tiando League. No matter who he was, whether he was strong or weak, as long as he appeared, he would be the leader of the Tiando League. Now, Dongfang Bingling actually said that Yang Dingtian's pig-killing swordsmanship could be related to the hidden sect's Pasa Calamity Crossing Sword. How could Yang Dingtian not be shocked? If that was the case, then this matter was indeed very big, and it was indeed enough for Dongfang Bingling to meet Yang Dingtian. Miss Dongfang, have you seen the Pasa Calamity Crossing Sword of the hidden sect? Yang Dingtian asked. No, no one in this world has seen it before. Dongfang Bingling said, but I heard others talking about your swordsmanship. They said that the pig-killing swordsmanship is very difficult to practice, and almost everyone who practiced this swordsmanship became crazy in the end. Also, I heard that senior brother Yang used this swordsmanship in the battle in Cloud Heaven City and defeated many experts who were much stronger than you. Most of the swordsmanship in the world only focuses on celestial chi, and a small number of them focus on swordsmanship. As for celestial chi and swordsmanship, I have only heard of the Pasa Calamity Crossing Sword. And senior brother Yang's pig-killing swordsmanship seems to also focus on celestial chi and swordsmanship, so I suspect that these two swordsmanships are related. So, I would like to invite senior brother Yang to demonstrate, Dongfang Bingling said in the end. Even though Dongfang Bingling's words were reasonable, Yang Dingtian still frowned slightly and felt uncomfortable. You, Dongfang Bingling, just summon me and I have to travel hundreds of miles to demonstrate a swordsmanship to you. Isn't this too cheap? Seeing Yang Dingtian's expression, Dongfang Bingling said, Senior brother Yang, you're not willing. It's fine, but I'm not willing, Yang Dingtian said. I can understand senior brother Yang's thoughts. Dongfang Bingling said, actually, I came here for another matter. I was invited by the Northwest Qin family to preside over the Tiando League's Northwest meeting. The Northwest Qin family said that Cloud Heaven City has been too ruthless in killing the Tiando League. He suggested that Cloud Heaven City be expelled from the Tiando League. What? Yang Dingtian exclaimed. The Tiando League was an alliance formed to resist the Army of Evil Ways. After the Army of Evil Ways was annihilated, this alliance was passed down and controlled the order of the entire world. It was the largest power in the entire world and had absolute authority over the entire world. Those who followed it would prosper and those who opposed it would perish. It could be said that being a member of the Tiando League was the most important identity for Cloud Heaven City. Losing this identity would be a disaster for Cloud Sky City at this moment. Cloud Heaven City's position was already very awkward. They had always been seen as a traitor of the Yin-Yang school, so the disciples of Cloud Heaven City could not hold their heads high when they traveled the world. This situation improved more than 200 years ago. At that time, after the Army of Evil Ways led by the Temple of Annihilation left the Ocean of Hell, they swept the world and destroyed countless sections. The far west mainland fell, the west mainland fell, and more than half of the northwest mainland fell. In the end, the final battle between the Tiando League and the Army of Evil Ways was at the edge of Cloud Heaven City. At that time, the Northwest Qin family had already fallen. At that time, Cloud Heaven City stood at the forefront of resisting the Army of Evil Ways. Because of Cloud Heaven City's awkward position, none of the famous sects in the world came to their rescue. Later on, it was the Yin sect's words that saved Cloud Heaven City. She said that Cloud Heaven City and the Yin-Yang school were just internal conflicts among the righteous sects in the world and were not enemies. Then, the Yin sect's sect master's words pulled Cloud Heaven City into the Tiando League. From then on, Cloud Heaven City had a slightly prominent sect and was listed as one of the righteous sects in the world. It was also because Cloud Heaven City was one of the 49 members of the Tiando League that the Northwest Qin family did not dare to openly annex Cloud Heaven City, even though Cloud Heaven City was at its weakest. However, once Cloud Heaven City was expelled from the Tiando League, Cloud Heaven City would lose its biggest obstacle to being annexed by the Northwest Qin family. This meeting was held yesterday at Katkin Villa. All the members of the Tiando League in the Northwest mainland have already agreed to this decision, including Cloud Heaven City itself, Dongfang Bingling said. Yang Dingtian said in disbelief, Cloud Heaven City's people also came for the meeting. Why didn't we know about it? Shiman Ju came as a representative of Cloud Heaven City's Elder Guild, Dongfang Bingling said. He was the first to raise his hand in agreement. Shameless. Yang Dingtian was instantly enraged. Shiman Ju was Shiman Wuya's most valued foster son. Yet, he was actually so cruel and unscrupulous as to kneel down and lick the Northwest Qin family's boots. It was simply too shameless. Yang Dingtian did not expect the Northwest Qin family's speed to be so fast and so ruthless. Qin Xiaobai had just arrived in Cloud Heaven City and had yet to gain a foothold, but the Northwest Qin family's fatal blow had already arrived. Not only did Shiman Ju agree, but the vassal forces of Cloud Heaven City all agreed as well. They even exposed Cloud Heaven City's bloody crimes, especially the Metal Sword Fortress. They even proposed to kill Shiman Wuya's descendants, Dongfang Bingling said. Yang Dingtian suppressed his anger and asked coldly, then, did the final decision pass? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt incomparably sorrowful. It was just like the Northern Ocean government's Paris Peace Conference after World War I. The enemy was discussing whether to annex you, and you didn't even have the right to speak. This world was such a survival of the fittest. It hasn't passed yet because I haven't expressed my opinion. Dongfang Bingling said, I am the host of the meeting. The hidden sect has secluded themselves from the world, and the Black Sky sect has also followed my lead on this matter. Therefore, I have the right to pass and also the right to veto this proposal. Therefore, I have absolute authority over Cloud Heaven City's fate. Whether it can stay in the Tiando League or not, I only need to say a word. Are you threatening me? Yang Dingtian said coldly. Of course not. Dongfang Bingling said, the Northwest Qin family's master also proposed that once this proposal passes, you will be held as a prisoner. You will be escorted to the Yin-Yang school and await my punishment. You will be charged with stealing the Yin-Yang school's sect master's ring. After taking a few deep breaths, Yang Dingtian had completely calmed down. He was no longer angry at the Northwest Qin family's master's methods. Instead, he was filled with extreme hatred. After calming himself down, Yang Dingtian asked Dongfang Bingling, what's your opinion? Senior Yang, I don't have any enmity towards you. Dongfang Bingling said, I called you here today because if your swordsmanship is even slightly related to the hidden sect, then no one would dare to suggest that Cloud Heaven City be expelled from the Tiando League. This is because it can be seen that the hidden sect left a set of swordsmanship for the Yin-Yang school, which means that Cloud Heaven City is related to the hidden sect. Yang Dingtian said, but, no one in the world has actually seen the hidden sect's swordsmanship. How can they tell if the pig-slaying swordsmanship is related to the hidden sect? Therefore, I specially called the young master of the Qing City Sword Sect, Yun Wanli. He will be able to tell if your swordsmanship is related to the hidden sect, Dongfang Bingling said. The Qing City Sword Sect was one of the 9 sects of the 3 sects and 9 clans. Actually, it was originally a third-rate sect and was not part of the 3 sects, 9 clans, and 27 groups. During the Great War 200 years ago, although the Qing City Sword Sect was weak, they performed very bravely and were not afraid of death. When the sect leader of the hidden sect saw this, he praised them greatly and passed down a scroll of swordsmanship to this sect. He also called the only daughter of the Qing City Sword Sect leader to his side and taught her for a few days. After a few decades, the Qing City Sword Sect continued to rise and was ranked among the 9 clans. Therefore, the Qing City Sword Sect was the sect that had the closest relationship with the hidden sect. Their swordsmanship scroll was given to them by the sect leader of the hidden sect. Although it was far from the real swordsmanship of the hidden sect, it was still related. Therefore, Yun Wanli could indeed tell if Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying swordsmanship was related to the Sa Calamity crossing sword of the hidden sect. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and nodded, okay, I agree. Thank you, senior brother, Dongfang Bingling said and then ordered outside, invite the young master of the Qing City Sword Sect, Yun Wanli. After a few minutes, a man's cold and passionate voice sounded from outside. It could be seen that it was another admirer of Dongfang Bingling. Moreover, it was a crazy and fanatical admirer. Qing City Sword Sect's Yun Wanli pays his respects to Fairy Dongfang. Please come in, Dongfang Bingling said. A man in white walked in. As expected, he had an imposing appearance and a natural sense of superiority. As the sect that was closest to the hidden sect, he received special respect no matter where he went. Even Dongfang Bingling was slightly courteous to him. Therefore, the Qing City Sword Sect had swept away the weakness of a few hundred years ago and became a powerful sect. Young Master Yun, this is Cloud Sky City's Yang Dingtian, Dongfang Bingling said. Yun Wanli held his sword and bowed. Yun Wanli pays his respects to young Master Yang. In the Tiando League, even if the disciples were from different sects, they would still address each other as senior brother. However, this Yun Wanli called him young Master Yang. It was obvious that he looked down on Yang Dingtian's status in Cloud Sky City and wasn't willing to address him as such. "Greetings, young Master Yun," Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Yun Wanli said, "I heard that young Master Yang's pig-slaying swordsmanship is very mysterious and might even have some relationship with the hidden sect. Yun Wanli specially came to give you some pointers." Yang Dingtian could tell that Yun Wanli's tone wasn't just filled with arrogance, but it was also filled with hostility. Very quickly, Yang Dingtian understood where the hostility came from. Yun Wanli was very proud of his special relationship with the hidden sect. He wanted to enjoy this glory alone. Now that he heard that Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying swordsmanship might be related to the hidden sect, he instinctively felt hostile. He felt that Yang Dingtian was here to snatch their things. He felt that Yang Dingtian didn't deserve to enjoy this glory and felt that he was a swindler with ulterior motives. Therefore, he instinctively wanted to expose Yang Dingtian's true colors. "I know that your celestial qi is weak, so in this battle, we will only compete in swordsmanship and not celestial qi. How about that?" Yun Wanli said. "Okay." Yang Dingtian said indifferently. He then slowly drew his night owl huge sword and thought to himself, "Whether Cloud Sky City can stay in the Tiando League or not, it all depends on you, buddy." Then, the two of them came to the center of the hall and officially competed in swordsmanship in front of Dongfang Bingling. Chapter 92. Fall City Sword Sect, Limitless Heaven and Earth Sword Technique. Yun Wanli said while holding his sword. "Cloud Sky City, pig-slaying swordsmanship." Yang Dingtian said while holding his sword. Hearing Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying swordsmanship, Yun Wanli couldn't hide his sarcasm. He frowned and said, "Young Master Yang, what is your cultivation level today?" 9-star Xian martial artist. Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Bingling's calm expression suddenly changed. Yang Dingtian had only left Yinyang School for a short period of time and he had already broken through to become a 9-star Xian martial artist. This cultivation speed was too shocking. However, in Yun Wanli's eyes, a 9-star Xian martial artist was like an ant. He, a martial Xian martial artist, actually had to compete with a 9-star Xian martial artist. This was a great humiliation. If not for the fact that Dongfang Bingling was the fairy of the 9 heavens and that he admired her, he would have already left. "How long have you been practicing swordsmanship?" Yun Wanli asked. "About half a month." Yang Dingtian said. Yun Wanli's expression changed. His eyes were filled with anger. "You've only been practicing swordsmanship for half a month and you dare to compete with me? Are you ignorant or impudent? The difference between you and me is too great. Even if we don't use Xian Qi, there's no need to fight." Yun Wanli frowned and said, "How about this, I'll use 3 moves, from easy to hard. You use all your strength to block them. If your swordsmanship is related to the Yin sect, you won't lose too badly. I can feel it too." "That's good too." Yang Dingtian said calmly. Yun Wanli held his sword and said, "Pay attention. I'm about to use the first move. This is the simplest move of the Limitless Heaven and Earth Sword technique. I'll only use 30% of my speed. I don't expect you to block it, just don't lose too badly." "Okay." Yang Dingtian said. First move, Heaven and Earth Shift. Yun Wanli's sword slashed fiercely. The sword light flashed and the sword shadow shook. Instantly, the surrounding air was sliced into many pieces. What the human eye could see was also sliced into many pieces. Immediately, the scene that Yang Dingtian saw seemed to have been severed apart before being pieced back together in a mess. As a result, countless swords appeared, and these swords were divided into countless segments. Like moving flowers and chaotic shadows, they pierced towards Yang Dingtian. As expected of the sword technique bestowed by the sect leader of the hidden sect. It was truly mysterious. Even though Yun Wanli had only used 30% of his speed, he was still very fast. He was still faster than Yang Dingtian's fastest speed. For a moment, he could only see a bunch of shadows rushing toward him. He didn't know which part was real and which part was fake. At this moment, even Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes revealed a look of amazement. Both of them were from the Fall City Sword sect. Their sword techniques were truly extraordinary. Yang Dingtian stood motionless, as if he was stunned by this incomparably profound sword technique. Country bumpkin, you must have never seen such a profound sword technique. I'm going to blind your eyes. Instantly, Yun Wanli's mouth revealed a look of disdain. The sharp sword in his hand shook and he wanted to knock the sword out of Yang Dingtian's hand and embarrass him greatly. When Yun Wanli was more than a foot away from Yang Dingtian suddenly moved. The night owl's strange blade in his hand pierced out. Without any fancy moves, it was the most ordinary and straight stab. You dare to use such a lousy sword technique to embarrass yourself? Yun Wanli sneered in his heart. The sharp sword in his hand slashed towards Yang Dingtian's wrist. Let go. Not only did he want to knock Yang Dingtian's sword out of his hand, but he also wanted to make him bleed to teach him a lesson. Immediately after, Yun Wanli suddenly felt a force pushing against his sword. Then, the sword in his hand was completely out of his control and flew out of his hand. Swoosh! Yun Wanli's sword flew out more than 10 meters and was nailed to the ground. Instantly, Yun Wanli was stunned. He looked at his right hand in disbelief. How could this be? How could this be? My sword technique is so mysterious. Originally, I wanted to knock the sword out of this ant's hand and pierce his wrist. How could my sword fly out of my hand? At this moment, even Dongfang Bingling was stunned. She looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Yang Dingtian kept his sword and stood there with a calm expression. That's right. Yun Wanli's boundless heaven and earth sword was indeed mysterious. It was indeed a sword technique passed down by the sect leader of the hidden sect. It was so mysterious that it was stunning. Among all the sword techniques in this world, in terms of the mystery of the moves, the boundless heaven and earth sword was second only to the Void Nine Disasters sword. Furthermore, these two sword techniques were of the same origin. Yang Dingtian felt as if someone had seen the Void Nine Disasters sword and created the boundless heaven and earth sword based on his memory. Hence, the two sword techniques were somewhat similar. However, the essence was too different. They were completely opposite. The complexity of the Void Nine Disasters sword was to return to its original state. On the other hand, the boundless heaven and earth sword went further and further on the mysterious and complicated path just to create a stunning visual effect. Furthermore, Yun Wanli loved to act cool. He wanted to show off in front of Dongfang Bingling. Hence, he played with the sword moves in a very fancy way and even changed some of the moves. Hence, in the eyes of others, his sword technique was really mysterious. However, in Yang Dingtian's eyes, it was full of flaws. Even though his speed was not as fast as Yun Wanli, Yang Dingtian's casual move not only broke his sword technique but also knocked the sword out of his hand. He wanted to embarrass Yang Dingtian. Hence, Yang Dingtian did not mind slapping his face. After waking up, Yun Wanli wished that there was a crack in the ground for him to crawl into. It was too embarrassing. Moreover, he had actually boasted so shamelessly just now that he wanted his opponent to block his swordsmanship. His opponent could have broken his swordsmanship at any time and even caused his sword to fly out of his hand. There was nothing more embarrassing than this. Yun Wanli, who felt his face burning, walked forward and pulled out his sword. He sneered at Yang Dingtian. Young Master Yang's sword technique is indeed powerful. In that case, please block my second strike. Second move, Shadowless Dream. Yun Wanli waved the sword in his hand and suddenly scattered a bunch of sword flowers. Swoosh 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 swoosh. Then, his body turned. In an instant, his body disappeared completely. His sword also disappeared completely. It turned into a faint shadow and rapidly revolved around Yang Dingtian's body. This time, he had used his speed to the maximum. The effect was indeed shocking. In the entire hall, his body was everywhere. However, there was no trace of him anywhere. The second move, Shadowless Dream, was indeed powerful. It completely made use of the mysterious body movement and extreme speed to create a visual error. Suddenly, it gave people a feeling of invisibility. If he couldn't even see his opponent, how could he defeat him? Yang Dingtian kept turning around, as if he was looking for Yun Wanli. Yun Wanli saw Yang Dingtian's state and finally felt that he had regained his dignity in front of Dongfang Bingling. He sneered in his heart, "Country bumpkin, it was my mistake just now. Now, I'll let you see the real mysterious sword technique. You should know how powerful it is." Yang Dingtian was amazed. This move, Shadowless Dream, was really similar to the Sword of Ecstasy of the Shuwu Nine Disasters sword. However, it was only similar in appearance. Furthermore, it was only superficial. Yun Wanli saw Yang Dingtian sigh and felt even more proud. However, his gaze suddenly turned cold. Just now, this country bumpkin had humiliated him greatly. Now, he would make Yun Wanli pay him back double. He stared coldly at Yang Dingtian's face and prepared to draw a bloody triangle on it. This was the symbol of a slave. "Yang Dingtian, this is my real sword technique. Let's see how you can block it." Yun Wanli laughed loudly. Then, he flashed behind Yang Dingtian and slashed the sharp sword in his hand towards his face. Yang Dingtian didn't seem to notice at all. "Yang Dingtian, you asked for it. Don't blame me for being merciless." Yun Wanli sped up and the tip of his sword slashed towards Yang Dingtian's face. He wanted to leave the mark of a slave's blood and leave him with a lifetime of shame. Yang Dingtian still didn't move. He didn't even turn around. Instead, he stabbed out with his sword. His speed wasn't even very fast. Dang! Suddenly, Yun Wanli felt a sharp pain in his arm. He didn't know what was going on, but the sword in his hand flew out of his hand. It flew a few dozen meters and was pinned to the wall, causing it to tremble violently. Previously, it flew out more than 10 meters. Now, it flew out more than 10 meters and hit the wall. Next time, wouldn't it hit the roof directly? Yun Wanli was really going crazy. He was really going crazy. Why was it like this? Why was it like this? His sword technique was amazing. No matter where he went, he would make people stare at him with their mouths agape and make people bow their heads in admiration. His sword technique was obviously the best in the world. His sword technique was personally taught by the sect leader of the hidden sect. It was unbeatable. But today, it was easily broken by Yang Dingtian, a mere 9-star black martial artist. Moreover, when Yang Dingtian broke his sword technique, it was as simple as eating and urinating. The first time was fine. But the second time, his sword flew out of his hand and his wrist was stabbed. Even though this was because Yun Wanli didn't use his celestial chi, but he, Yun Wanli, had been practicing swordsmanship for more than 10 years. Yang Dingtian had only practiced for half a month. He had practiced swordsmanship for more than 10 years and sparred with him for more than 10 days. He actually lost so miserably. Such a humiliation. How could Yun Wanli, the proud son of the heavens, not be ashamed and furious? Yun Wanli was not only ashamed to death. He was going crazy with jealousy. He even overturned all his pride. Impossible, impossible. How can you break my sword technique? How can you break my shadowless dream? I have practiced it to the extreme. Yun Wanli pointed at Yang Dingtian and said sternly. Yang Dingtian really wanted to say, "Boss, your sword technique is wrong. The more you practice it to the extreme, the more wrong it is. With such a flawed sword technique, what method do you have that I can't break it?" "That's right. Yang Dingtian had practiced the Shiwu 9 Disasters sword for tens of thousands of times. The logic of each move was very clear, and this so-called shadowless illusion was just a superficial version of the Shiwu 9 Tribulation sword's Rapture sword. It couldn't even be counted as a knockoff. To others, it might be unsolvable. But to Yang Dingtian, he could break it with his eyes closed. At this moment, Dongfang Bingling was really shocked. In just a month's time, Yang Dingtian had become so powerful. Did she really misjudge him when she was in Yinyang school? This Yang Dingtian was really so talented. Seeing that Yun Wanli was about to go crazy, Yang Dingtian reminded him, "Young Master Yun, there is still the third move." Hearing Yang Dingtian's cold words, Yun Wanli suddenly woke up. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. That's right. He had embarrassed himself just now. But there was only one Dongfang Bingling in front of him. His image in front of the fairy was ruined. But that didn't matter. Dongfang Bingling wasn't someone he could touch. So, his reputation of embarrassing himself wouldn't be spread. Moreover, so what if this Yang Dingtian's swordsmanship was exquisite? He was just a 9-star Xian martial artist. The most important thing in this world was still Xian Qi. If he used Xian Qi, he could crush him with one finger. However, in this situation, he had to plan carefully. This Yang Dingtian made him embarrass himself. He definitely couldn't let him do as he wished. Yun Wanli's face became cold again. He walked over and pulled out his sword. Young Master Yang's swordsmanship is indeed exquisite. But it's all the same movement. I can't see any connection with the hidden sect. Why don't you attack for the third move and I'll defend? Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "That's good too." Yun Wanli continued, "Also, you can't use such a straightforward and vulgar swordsmanship anymore. The hidden sect's swordsmanship has immortal qi and is extremely mysterious. So, the swordsmanship you use must have the aura of the hidden sect. It must be similar to my boundless heaven and earth sword. Then, this move must break through my defense. Then, I'll admit that your swordsmanship is related to the hidden sect. How about that? If you can't do that, then I'm sorry, but I can only watch as Cloud Heaven City is expelled from the Tiando League." There were two conditions for the third move. First, it must have the aura of the hidden sect. It must be similar to the boundless heaven and earth sword of the False City Sword sect. Second, it must break through Yun Wanli's defense. Yang Dingtian laughed in his heart. Is there anything simpler than this in this world? Yes, was there anything simpler than this in this world? Yang Dingtian's Shiwu 9 Disasters sword was extremely mysterious and complicated. It was overflowing with immortal qi. Compared to the boundless heaven and earth sword, it was many times more powerful. As for breaking through Yun Wanli's defense, without using Xian Qi, it was impossible for the boundless heaven and earth sword to defend against the Shiwu 9 Disasters sword. Even if Yang Dingtian didn't want to break through, he had no choice. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian gently swung his sword and glanced at Dongfang Bingling. The Shiwu 9 Disasters sword was not only the most mysterious move, but also the most pretentious move. Arrogant girl, I'll let you see the supreme swordsmanship of this passerby. Shiwu 9 Disasters sword, descend. Just one move was like the galaxy in the sky, not the mortal world. Chapter 93. The Sword of Birth. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's sword was like a river of stars. It descended from the sky and pierced towards Yun Wanli's head. Is that all? Then it's too easy to defend against you. Yun Wanli sneered. He waved his sword wildly and countless sword flowers surrounded his entire body. It was as if water could not enter and wind could not pass through. However, when Yang Dingtian's sword landed on his head and entered his dense sword net defense, Yun Wanli was shocked. To Yun Wanli's horror, he realized that no matter how fast he brandished his sword, he was still unable to block Yang Dingtian's sword light that descended from the sky. He couldn't even make contact with it. Whoosh! In an instant, Yang Dingtian's sword pierced his head and cut off 2 strands of his hair. If it went any further, his skull would be pierced. Yun Wanli was shocked. He did not even know what was going on. Yang Dingtian's sword was already above his head. Again. Yun Wanli roared angrily. Alright, then take my second sword. Yang Dingtian sneered. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, all being's sword. The sharp sword in Yang Dingtian's hand trembled. Instantly, the entire room was filled with cold light and bright spots. In an instant, dozens of swords, hundreds of swords, rained down on Yun Wanli's head. Ah! Yun Wanli roared angrily. He aimed at the countless sword flowers and swung his sword down. The speed of his sword was extremely fast and ferocious. Yang Dingtian, you have so many sword flowers this time. However, there is only one sword. I don't care how many shadows you have. I only care about this sword. I will definitely break your rubbish sword. However, when the sword swung down, it was completely empty. He saw countless sword flowers, but he did not cut anything. Yun Wanli was shocked. Then, he felt a chill on his neck. Yang Dingtian's night owl's strange blade had already touched the back of his neck and cut off 2 strands of hair. Yun Wanli was furious. He was the young master of the world's #1 sword faction. How could he be humiliated like this in terms of swordsmanship? He couldn't even fight back. Again. Yun Wanli roared, if I can't defend against your sword, my Fall City sword sect won't be the #1 sword sect in the world. You, Yang Dingtian, are the closest person to the hidden sect. Your Cloud Heaven City is the closest force to the hidden sect. Alright, let's do it again. Yang Dingtian said. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, emotionless sword. The sharp sword in Yang Dingtian's hand trembled, and suddenly, a cold light surrounded it. The entire sharp sword became faintly discernible, as if it was an illusory soul. It circled around Yun Wanli's body, as if it was far away, but also as if it was close at hand. Whirlwind strike. Yun Wanli's body spun quickly, and the sharp sword in his hand was like an electric fan. It spun crazily, cutting through every inch of the air and crushing towards Yang Dingtian's figure. Suddenly, a cold light burst forth. Yun Wanli only felt a sudden chill in front of his eyes, and his whirlwind strike stopped abruptly. This was because if he spun a little more, his eyes would be blinded. Ah! Yun Wanli let out a furious roar, and said, again, alright, again. Yang Dingtian said. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, ecstasy. The sharp sword in his hand trembled slightly, and suddenly, the entire solid sword became curved and elegant, like spiraling smoke. It wandered, and was infinitely gentle. There was only a beautiful and gentle halo that wandered around Yun Wanli. Yun Wanli stared at this halo, and with a roar, the sharp sword in his hand slashed down fiercely. However, it was empty, and nothing was slashed. Suddenly, this gentle halo turned into an incomparably sharp and soul-stirring cold light. Swoosh 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 swoosh, suddenly, 5 fierce sword flowers burst out. Yun Wanli suddenly felt a chill in front of his chest, and saw that his clothes had been cut into 5 pieces, revealing the flesh in front of his chest. There were even 5 faint traces of blood. It was obvious that Yang Dingtian was being merciful. Otherwise, there would be 5 deep and bloody wounds. Again, Yun Wanli was furious again and again, he defended himself. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, boundless sword. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, selfless sword. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, great sorrow sword. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, nirvana sword. Shiwu 9 Disaster's sword, non-tribulation sword. Every sword move that Yang Dingtian executed was extremely mysterious. Every move was resplendent. Every move was mysterious and unfathomable. Every move was filled with immortal qi. Every move, Yang Dingtian easily broke through Yun Wanli's defense, and sent the tip of his sword to the most fatal part of his body. Every move caused the dignified young master of the False City Sword Sect to suffer a crushing defeat. After 9 moves, Yun Wanli's clothes were tattered, and his hair was disheveled. He seemed to have gone crazy. He was really going to be tortured to the point of insanity by Yang Dingtian. Ah! Yang Dingtian, you bastard, I'll kill you, I'll tear you into pieces. Suddenly, Yun Wanli roared, and the mysterious qi in his body surged. His whole body was bursting with murderous intent. Waving the sharp sword in his hand, he madly slashed at Yang Dingtian. He was a martial mystic realm expert, and was dozens of levels higher than Yang Dingtian. In an instant, Yang Dingtian felt a deadly murderous intent. Enough! Dongfang Bingling shouted. Suddenly, the air turned cold, and the vase on the table shattered into pieces. The bonsai on the windowsill turned into ashes. Yun Wanli, who was rushing towards Yang Dingtian, suddenly stopped. It was as if his body was fixed, and he could not take even half a step forward. Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes were completely fixed on Yang Dingtian, and finally on his face. Just now, when Yang Dingtian was defending, she was only slightly surprised. But now, her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. It was as if she was seeing Yang Dingtian for the first time, and as if she did not know him at all. She had traveled all over the world, and had seen many mysterious sword techniques. However, she had never seen a sword technique that was as shocking as Yang Dingtian's. Such a beautiful and mysterious swordsmanship was truly mesmerizing. This was the true, unquestionable #1 sword technique in the world. Even with Dongfang Bingling's wisdom, she was almost completely immersed in the sword technique. This Yang Dingtian had only been gone for a short period of time, but he had actually become so formidable that it was unbelievable. Taking a deep breath, Dongfang Bingling removed all thoughts from her mind. She looked at Yun Wanli and said, "Young Master Yun, now can you determine whether Yang Dingtian's sword technique is related to the hidden sect?" Yun Wanli was completely sober now. Just now, he was really blinded by anger and hatred. That was why he thought of killing in front of Dongfang Bingling. Now that he thought about it, he was really scared. Although he was a martial mystic realm expert, Dongfang Bingling only needed to lift a finger and she could crush him to death. Even though he still hated Yang Dingtian to the core and wanted to tear him into pieces, he could not do it here. But he couldn't do it here, not in front of Dongfang Bingling. "I will spare your life. Leave this place and I will make sure you die without a complete corpse," Yun Wanli said coldly in his heart. He did not care about Yang Dingtian's background at all. Since Shiman Wuya was no longer around, Cloud Sky City was nothing. Is Yang Dingtian's sword technique related to the hidden sect? Dongfang Bingling asked again impatiently. Oh. Yun Wanli quickly woke up from the hatred in his heart. Then, his expression became mysterious. Yang Dingtian stared at his face, waiting for his answer. Even Ning Ruhan, who was peeking from behind the door, stared at Yun Wanli, waiting for his answer. Yun Wanli's answer would determine whether Cloud Sky City could remain in the Tiando League. However, as long as one was not blind, they would know that Yang Dingtian's mysterious and amazing sword technique was the same as the boundless heaven and earth sword of False City Sword Sect. No, it could not be said that. This was completely flattering the boundless heaven and earth sword of False City Sword Sect. To be more precise, the boundless heaven and earth sword was only a superficial version of Yang Dingtian's sword technique. It was the crudest replica. If the boundless heaven and earth sword had any relationship with the hidden sect, then Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying swordsmanship was countless levels higher than it. Therefore, there was no need to wait for Yun Wanli's answer. As long as one was not blind, they would be able to tell. Take a deep breath, Yun Wanli said coldly, Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying swordsmanship has nothing to do with the hidden sect. As soon as he said this, Yang Dingtian's expression changed. How could a person be so shameless? He was lying with his eyes closed. Yun Wanli sneered and continued, on the contrary, his sword technique reminds me of the Evil Way's Supreme Shura sword technique. Not only are the two similar in form, but they are also similar in spirit. Yang Dingtian felt a chill in his heart. Not only did Yun Wanli deny his pig-slaying swordsmanship, he even wanted to kill him. No matter if it was because Yang Dingtian had humiliated him or because the false city sword sect wanted to monopolize the honor of having a close relationship with the hidden sect, Yun Wanli wanted to kill Yang Dingtian. Evil ways should be punished by everyone. If it was related to the evil ways, Yang Dingtian would no longer have a foothold in the world. The entire world and the entire Tiando League would want to kill Yang Dingtian. Cloud Sky City would truly fall into eternal damnation. After Yun Wanli finished speaking, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes glanced at him but did not say anything. Instead, it was Ning Ruhan's expression that changed, revealing a look of disdain. "All right, I understand." Dongfang Bingling said, "Young Master Yun, you can leave first." "Young Mistress Dongfang, the demons of the evil Dao should be killed by everyone. You must not allow the demons of the evil Dao to infiltrate our Heavenly Law Alliance," Yun Wanli said. Dongfang Bingling frowned slightly and said, "I know what to do. Ruhan, send the guest out." Ning Ruhan was also unhappy. She went up to Yun Wanli and said, "Please. Fairy Dongfang, I will take my leave," Yun Wanli said. Before he left, he stared deeply at Yang Dingtian. "Senior brother Yang, this Yun Wanli is spouting nonsense. What do you think?" Dongfang Bingling asked. Yang Dingtian sneered and said, "It's not what I think. It's what you think, Fairy Dongfang. Senior brother Yang, actually, whether or not your sword art is related to the hidden sect is not up to Yun Wanli or you to decide." Dongfang Bingling said, "It's up to me to decide. If I say it is, Cloud Heaven City will be preserved. If I don't, Cloud Heaven City will fall into a disaster. Even if senior brother Yang is related to the evil ways, it's up to me to decide." Yang Dingtian said, "I know that Fairy Dongfang has great power. Don't play riddles. Tell me your decision." Dongfang Bingling looked deeply at Yang Dingtian and said, "Senior brother Yang, I misjudged you at the Yinyang school. I thought your talent was mediocre, so I didn't take you seriously. This time, when I came to the Northwest continent, I heard about your miracles. I didn't believe it, so I specially summoned you. I didn't expect you to be more outstanding than what they said." Then, Dongfang Bingling turned around and looked out of the window. "Senior brother Yang, I am magnanimous and don't care about trifles. So, I don't care if you offended me before. When I use people, I only look at their talents. How about this? I can protect Cloud Heaven City. Not only can I let it stay in the Tiando League, I can even stop the Northwest Qin clan from annexing it. But I have a condition." "Oh?" Yang Dingtian asked, "What condition?" "You have to break up with Shiman Yanyan and completely sever your relationship with Cloud Heaven City. You have to return to the Yinyang school," Dongfang Bingling said. "Now, I have the final say in the Yinyang school. I can do my best to nurture you. The resources of the Yinyang school can't be compared to 10 Cloud Heaven cities. I only have one goal, which is to break through to the Martial Saint realm, which no one has done in 400 years. In the future, I won't care much about the matters of the Yinyang school. I will leave everything to you and senior brother Leng Wuyan. When the time comes, the two of you will be my right-hand men. You will be respected by everyone in the world." Hearing Dongfang Bingling's condition, Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. He really didn't think that Dongfang Bingling would propose such a condition. It was too ridiculous. Seeing Yang Dingtian's shocked expression, Dongfang Bingling said, "Don't be so surprised. I am a person who only cares about the greater good and will not be disturbed by personal grudges. Even if you offended me and I was prepared to kill you. But as long as you have the talent, I can forget about the past and still put you in an important position." Yang Dingtian wanted to laugh in his heart. He suddenly laughed and said, Fairy Dongfang is really broad-minded. Unfortunately, I can't enjoy such a wonderful thing. Why? You can't bear to part with Shimen Yanyan? Dongfang Bingling frowned and said, with such narrow vision, you can't achieve great things. As long as you achieve great things, you can have any woman you want. If you really can't bear to part with a beautiful woman, is Ning Ruhan by my side beautiful enough? How about I give her to you? Tonight, she can be your woman. At this time, Ning Ruhan had just returned from sending Yun Wanli off. When she heard Dongfang Bingling's words, she immediately exclaimed. Young Mississippi, Ning Ruhan said in shock. Do you dare to disobey my orders? Dongfang Bingling said indifferently. Ning Ruhan's delicate body suddenly trembled. Her small face suddenly turned pale. She lowered her head and said, This servant doesn't dare. Then, Ning Ruhan looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes full of hatred. I don't think so. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, The woman by your side is too arrogant. I can't enjoy her. Even if I marry her, I will suffer. I still like my Yan. Yang Dingtian can only reject Fairy Dongfang's good intentions. Dongfang Bingling's face turned cold and she said coldly, You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Then you want to watch as Cloud Heaven City is expelled from the Tiando League? You want to watch as Cloud Heaven City falls into the hands of the Northwest Qin family? You know that I don't have a good impression of Cloud Heaven City. If you reject my good intentions, why should I help your Cloud Heaven City? Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said word by word, Fairy Dongfang, have you forgotten that we still have a 5-year agreement? 5 years later, I will represent Cloud Heaven City at the Yinyang School to challenge you. I will take back my dignity. Have you really forgotten? Chapter 94. 5-Year Promise. Dongfang Bingling said, Oh, the 5-year promise. At that time at sea, because my mother wanted to kill herself, I promised to let you live for 5 years. After 5 years, I will kill you and take away the Ring of Flames. Then, Dongfang Bingling said, Since I let you return to the Yinyang School, I will not kill you after 5 years. The 5-year promise will naturally be cancelled. You can rest assured. However, you still have to hand over the sect leader's ring. Of course, considering your relationship with my father, I will let you keep the Ring of Flames. Because as long as you are strong enough, I can hand over all the internal affairs of the Yinyang School to you. In the Yinyang School, you will be second only to one person. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned and speechless. The 5-year promise was like a ghastly scar that was engraved in his heart. It constantly reminded him to be strong and to reclaim his dignity. The 5-year promise had even become his lifelong mission. It had become the most important part of his life. The 5-year promise had already occupied most of the space in his heart. It had completely become the goal that he would fight for with his life. Dongfang Bingling, on the other hand, had almost forgotten about it. In her heart, the 5-year promise was only to let Yang Dingtian live for 5 more years under the pressure of her mother. It was equivalent to waiting for 5 more years to take the Ring of Flames from Yang Dingtian. Not to mention that she did not treat Yang Dingtian as an opponent at all. She did not even consider him as a speck of dust. The saddest thing in the world was that you treated the other person as your lifelong enemy, a goal to fight for. However, the other party had completely forgotten about this matter. This kind of humiliation was even greater than when Dongfang Bingling rejected the marriage agreement with Yang Dingtian. Even though Dongfang Bingling did not do it on purpose, she could not find Yang Dingtian anywhere she looked. At this time, Yang Dingtian could not even be angry. He could only laugh and bury all the unwillingness and humiliation in his heart. I want to become stronger, I want to become stronger. One day, I will stand in front of you with an indomitable spirit and use my sword to tell you that I, Yang Dingtian, am more magnificent and powerful than you, Dongfang Bingling. Yang Dingtian roared in his heart, but he wore a faint smile on his face. Yes, that's the matter. Dongfang Bingling was stunned for a while and said, don't tell me you really want to challenge me 5 years later. Yang Dingtian nodded seriously. Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes turned cold. She said indifferently, I didn't expect that people could be so ignorant. Then, Dongfang Bingling said calmly, so you're saying that you're rejecting my good intentions? Yeah, Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Bingling waved her jade-like hand and said, then I know, you can go back. That action was really like scattering a cloud of dust. Goodbye. Yang Dingtian turned around and walked out. Oh right, senior brother Yang, I have something to tell you. Dongfang Bingling said, using the yin-yang festival to break through profound qi isn't considered a talent. There won't be a second time. No matter how profound your sword art is, it's useless. At most, you'll just be like those women from the 7 refined lane, performing for the entertainment of others. Don't lose yourself because of these 2 things. If you think too highly of yourself, it will destroy you. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly and said, thank you for your warning, Fairy Dongfang. I've learned a lot. Yang Dingtian continued to walk outside. At this moment, an incomparably moving voice suddenly came from outside. It was hoarse and sexy, cold and arrogant, but it was also filled with a magical charm. Dongfang Bingling, you've finally come to the Northwest continent. I've really missed you, why don't you come out and meet me? This voice wasn't very loud, but it resounded in everyone's heart, causing everyone to feel itchy all over. It was a seductive itch that made them want to reach out and scratch it. Just the voice alone was filled with a magical charm. Dongfang Bingling's expression changed slightly. Without a doubt, this woman was a peerless expert. She had never met a female peerless expert before. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had already arrived outside the door. He heard the woman's voice, but he couldn't see her figure. Which demoness dares to barge into my Catkin manor? You're courting death. Immediately after, a shout came from outside. Then, the manager of the Catkin Manor led dozens of warriors and suddenly soared into the sky, rushing towards the direction of the woman's voice. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's vision blurred. He only saw a figure appear out of thin air under a large tree. It was a woman dressed in men's clothing. She was wearing a golden mask and her face couldn't be seen. However, the 2 eyes that were exposed were captivating, as bright and deep as the galaxy. Even though she was dressed in men's clothing, her slender body and curves were like the undulating mountains and rivers, filled with a magical charm. This was the woman with the most enchanting figure Yang Dingtian had ever seen. This was also the woman with the most captivating eyes that Yang Dingtian had ever seen. Demoness, how dare you show yourself? Die! The manager of the Catkin Manor, Lu Qingyan, laughed and immediately pounced on her like a goshawk hunting a rabbit. He was a martial ancestor realm expert. His leap was extremely powerful, like a goshawk hunting a rabbit. Swoosh! The woman flicked her sleeve lightly. Immediately, the martial mystic realm expert Lu Qingyan and dozens of the manor warriors that pounced on her were smashed into pieces in the air. There were no screams, no cries of surprise. They directly split apart in the air, turning into countless pieces of flesh. Each piece was as small as a grain of sand. They splattered in all directions, dyeing the entire ground red. Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. This woman was so powerful that it completely exceeded Yang Dingtian's knowledge. The martial mystic realm expert and dozens of manor warriors were instantly killed by a flick of her sleeve. After killing them, the woman smiled towards Dongfang Bingling's direction and said, I've always heard that Dongfang Bingling is the world's #1 youth expert. Her talent is so high that no one can surpass her. 15 years later, she is destined to be the world's #1. So, I'm here to take a look. Ha, what kind of status does Fairy Dongfang have? Why would she fight with a lowly person like you? Suddenly, a hearty laugh came from a pavilion. This voice was very familiar. It was Yun Wanli of the Fall City Sword Sect. Then, He floated out of the pavilion like a butterfly. He stood on the corner of the eaves. At this moment, he had already changed into a snow-white robe. His hair was also combed, and he immediately regained his handsome appearance. He stood on the corner of the eaves, and the breeze blew, making him look even more handsome and elegant. He had the demeanor of an expert. Yun Wanli stood with his sword in hand. He looked down arrogantly at the woman with the golden mask and said, "Since you are so ignorant, let me teach you a lesson on behalf of Fairy Dongfang. You are a woman, so you go first." Yun Wanli held his sword with one hand, and the other hand was behind his back. It was obvious that he did not see the scene of Lu Qingyan being killed. Today, he had completely lost face in front of Dongfang Bingling. So, when he was changing his clothes, other than wanting to tear Yang Dingtian into pieces, he was also thinking of how to restore his image in front of Dongfang Bingling. He did not expect that such an ignorant woman would come to challenge Dongfang Bingling. This was a heaven-sent opportunity. It was a good opportunity to let Dongfang Bingling see how powerful Yun Wanli was. He wanted to see how powerful the boundless heaven and earth sword was after adding his Xian Qi. Moreover, there were many experts from the northwest continent in the manor. He did not believe that his life would be in danger. "Who are you?" the woman with the golden mask asked. "Fall City Sword Sect, Yun Wanli." Yun Wanli said calmly, "You are a woman, so you go first." At this moment, he didn't notice that Yang Dingtian was looking at him as though he was an idiot. Of course, Ning Ruhan and Dongfang Bingling were also looking at Yun Wanli as though he was an idiot. However, he could vaguely feel that he was the center of attention. The woman with the golden mask looked at Yun Wanli and said, "Okay, then I won't hold back. Do as you wish." Yun Wanli laughed. The woman with the golden mask did not unsheath her sword. She slashed at the air. Swoosh! Instantly, he felt as if he was floating in the air. The handsome Yun Wanli was split into two and fell to the ground. There was not even a scream, and there was not even a drop of blood. Yang Dingtian could not help but sympathize with this idiot. Everyone knew that he was courting death, but no one said anything to stop him. It could be seen that Yun Wanli relied on his 1,800-mile relationship with the hidden sect to act like a tyrant and was unpopular. After killing Yun Wanli, the woman with the golden mask said, "I thought he was very strong." She was really a demonic woman. After killing him, she even stepped on him ruthlessly. Dongfang Bingling was still in the loft. She asked indifferently, "May I know who you are?" "Temple of Blood, Dugu Fengwu," the woman with the golden mask said indifferently. Once she said that, there was a burst of gasps in the manor. Temple of Blood, one of the leaders of the evil ways. 200 years ago, when the Hall Master of the Temple of Annihilation started the War of Extinction, the Temple of Blood was his right-hand man. Evil ways, it was actually evil ways. Evil ways that had disappeared for 200 years had actually appeared again. Furthermore, she directly challenged the #1 prodigy of the Tiando League, Dongfang Bingling. The one who came was a woman with a demonic charm. Evil ways demonic woman. You are not qualified to challenge my fairy of the Tiando League. I am Bai Zhanga of the Yinyang School. I will be here for a while. Suddenly, a tall figure rushed to the sky. The sharp sword in his hand was like a meteor from outer space as he stabbed at Dugu Fengwu. Bai Zhanga, Dongfang Bingling's martial uncle. He was of the same generation as Dongfang Minmi and was the youngest junior brother in this generation. A 5-star martial ancestor expert. Therefore, when this sword was executed, it was extremely awe-inspiring and shocking. Dugu Fengwu saw Bai Zhanga pouncing over, but she still stood there without moving. When he was 6 meters away, she gently slashed with the sharp sword in her hand. Swish, fresh blood spurted out, and Bai Zhanga's head flew dozens of meters away. A martial ancestor expert was still killed in a single move. Dongfang Bingling still didn't make a move. At this moment, the experts on the first floor of the pavilion that Yang Dingtian was in and the chiefs of the northwest continent stood up abruptly. The leader of the group yelled out, "Everyone, let's attack together. There is no need to talk about justice when dealing with such an evil person." After he finished speaking, over a dozen of them suddenly soared into the sky and pounced at Dugu Fengwu. Over a dozen of them were all chiefs of territories within 100 miles. Each of them was a martial ancestor expert and above. When these dozens of people flew into the sky, their aura was extremely shocking. It looked like they were going to tear this Dugu Fengwu into pieces. Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of mockery. Her figure flashed and instantly disappeared in front of Yang Dingtian. Afterward, an extremely enchanting fragrance floated in the manner. That was because Dugu Fengwu was floating in every corner of the air. Swish 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 swish, the sword light was cold, and it was like the stars in the night sky. Ah, 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 miserable screams could be heard one after another. These Northwest chief were like dumplings that were being dropped into a pot. After they landed on the ground, they vomited blood violently. All the bones in their bodies were shattered, their mystic meridians were shattered, and their innards were crushed. They were completely turned into a pile of meat paste. Fairy Dongfang is so ruthless. She is actually indifferent to the deaths of so many people. The golden-masked woman said indifferently, "Then don't blame me for starting a massacre in the manor." After she finished speaking, Dugu Fengwu's figure disappeared in front of Yang Dingtian again. She was like a phantom as she quickly floated around the courtyard. Afterward, there was a spurt of blood and miserable screams. In just half a minute, Dugu Fengwu floated back to her original spot. There wasn't a trace of blood on her body or on her sword. Why are there only over 100 people here? I haven't killed enough yet. Dugu Fengwu said indifferently. Yang Dingtian's body was really cold at this moment. Evil ways were said to be evil and cruel, but he didn't feel anything. Now, he finally saw it for himself. Over 100 people were wiped out in the blink of an eye. She didn't even frown. She treated human lives like grass. Every inch of Yang Dingtian's body was deeply shocked and ice-cold. Compared to Dugu Fengwu, Dongfang Bingling was even crueler. Over 100 people viewed her as a high and mighty fairy and admired her incomparably. The Catkin Manor was even filled with people from the Yinyang school. However, she only wanted to see Dugu Fengwu's strength and actually watched the other party kill. Yang Dingtian had never seen or heard of such a cold-hearted and ruthless person. After she finished speaking, Dugu Fengwu lightly shook her jade-like arms. It was as though her hands were a little sore from killing too many people. Then, her beautiful eyes suddenly landed on Yang Dingtian and Ning Ruhan. She said indifferently, "So, there are still two more. There is actually a man. Dongfang Bingling, is this your lover?" Without waiting for Dongfang Bingling to reply, Dugu Fengwu said indifferently, "Since killing a few hundred people is still killing, one or two more is also killing. Let's just kill them all." After she finished speaking, she raised her jade-like hand and slashed at Yang Dingtian and Ning Ruhan with her treasured sword. This sword chi was formless and formless, but it was fatal. Yang Dingtian could only see that the dense tree branches, thick pillars, and hard rocks were all cut off from the middle. The strange thing was that this sword chi wasn't as fast as lightning. When it reached Yang Dingtian's eyes, it actually took more than a second. This demonic woman, even killing people in such an artistic way. Yang Dingtian could clearly see that this sword chi was directly cutting towards his waist. Originally, Yang Dingtian wanted to quickly dodge, but he soon stopped moving. This was because he had the deep-sea mystic clothes on him, which could resist mystic chi attacks. This sword chi was completely mystic chi. The sword chi arrived quickly. At this moment, Yang Dingtian noticed that Ning Ruhan's face was pale as she stood at the side in a daze. It was as though she was frightened by the bloody scene in front of her. It looked as though this proud young lady was about to be cut into two and disappear. Sigh, forget it. I will save your life, Yang Dingtian said in his heart. He then turned at lightning speed and pounced towards Ning Ruhan. What are you doing? Ning Ruhan was shocked and shouted. At the same time, the sword Qi struck Yang Dingtian's back. In an instant, Yang Dingtian and Ning Ruhan were sent flying like straws. Bang! At the same time, Dongfang Bingling's mystic Qi burst out. In an instant, the entire pavilion was blasted into smithereens. Dongfang Bingling's delicate body suddenly flew over 100 meters in the sky with a sword in her hand like a fairy from the 9 heavens. Dugu Fengwu, I know you. Dongfang Bingling looked at the masked lady on the ground and said, the number 1 prodigy of the evil ways, the daughter of the Temple of 10,000 Bloods Temple Master, Dugu Shao. People call you the 9 heavens demoness, but after meeting you today, you are nothing much. Dugu Fengwu suddenly flew up into the sky and floated about 100 meters away from Dongfang Bingling. She smiled and said, is that so? Then let's have a good fight today. Let's see if your Tiando League or my evil ways are stronger. Sure. Dugu Fengwu said indifferently, it has been a long time since I met a decent opponent. Finishing her statement, she raised her long sword and burst out with boundless mystic Qi, which instantly enveloped the entire Catkin Manor. Evil ways, the 2 peerless prodigies of the Tiando League, and an exceptional battle was about to begin. Chapter 95. 100 meters up in the sky, Dongfang Bingling and Dugu Fengwu were engaged in an earth-shattering battle. Astonishing sword Qi swept across, destroying everything on the ground. The dazzling sword light shot out, turning everything into dust. At the same time, Yang Dingtian was buried in a pile of rubble. When the sword Qi slashed his back, he felt his vision turn black. He then spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out with Ning Ruhan in his arms. Dugu Fengwu's sword Qi was incomparably astonishing, but Yang Dingtian only spat out a mouthful of blood. He then fell into a short daze and was quickly awakened by the loud sound in the sky. At this moment, he felt something soft and elastic under his body, but he didn't know what it was. Ah! A soft sound came from below, and Ning Ruhan, who was under his body, slowly woke up. It turned out that Yang Dingtian had actually smashed onto her body. She then saw Yang Dingtian, who was on top of her, and his big hand was at a place where it shouldn't be. Ah! Ning Ruhan cried out in surprise. She then pushed Yang Dingtian to the side and scolded, Yang Dingtian, you bastard, I'll kill you. Subsequently, she stood up abruptly and was about to kick Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian woke up at this moment. When he saw Ning Ruhan's jade-like foot kicking over, he couldn't help but grab it and pull it with force. Ning Ruhan might only be Dongfang Bingling's sword attendant, but her cultivation was also at the great mystic martial master level. However, she had just woken up and didn't use her mystic Qi to kick, so Yang Dingtian grabbed her right foot. She was the most ticklish. When her jade-like foot was grabbed, half of her body went numb and lost her strength. She then fell onto Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian dodged abruptly and allowed this delicate little beauty to fall into a pile of rubble. There was a bang sound, and a burst of dust splashed up. Yang Dingtian, I'm going to kill you. Ning Ruhan was furious. She picked up a wooden stick from the ground and was about to hit him. Stop! Yang Dingtian suddenly shouted. Suddenly, Ning Ruhan was shocked and forgot to strike with the wooden stick in her hand. Woman, you are so unreasonable. Just now, I couldn't bear to see you die under the demoness sword, so I risked my life to save you. Not only did you not thank me, you even wanted to kill me when you woke up. Really, like master, like servant. Yang Dingtian said coldly, you are exactly the same as me, ungrateful. Ning Ruhan was stunned by the scolding. Then, she remembered what happened just now. In the end, it was indeed Yang Dingtian who saved her. Otherwise, she would have been cut into 2 by the demonic woman's sword Qi. I don't need you to save me. However, Ning Ruhan wasn't willing to lose her momentum. Furthermore, do you think you can take advantage of me just because you saved me? How did I take advantage of you? Yang Dingtian asked. You. Ning Ruhan was so embarrassed that she couldn't say anything. If I touched you, it would be an accident. Yang Dingtian said, furthermore, with your flat body, how can I take advantage of you? My wife, Yan, is 10,000 times more beautiful than you. Her body is 1,000 times better than yours. Why would I take advantage of you? Yang Dingtian's poisonous tongue made Ning Ruhan explode. Her eyes suddenly turned red and tears burst out. She cried, Yang Dingtian, you bastard, you pervert. You took advantage of me and still scolded me. I will kill you. I will kill you. Then, she clenched her fists and punched at Yang Dingtian with all her might. What a crazy woman. Yang Dingtian directly dodged to the side. Ning Ruhan didn't chase after him. Instead, she sat on the ground and cried. In the sky, the shocking battle between the two women was still going on. With a loud rumble, the sword light that was hundreds of feet long and the soaring flames completely blinded Yang Dingtian's eyes. On the ground, a young girl sat on the ground and cried until she was out of breath. Ning Ruhan usually imitated her master's cold and aloof appearance. Now, she was sitting on the ground and crying, which made people feel a little uncomfortable. Yang Dingtian didn't bother about her and allowed her to cry. But who knew that she would cry harder and harder? She cried until her voice was hoarse. Yang Dingtian looked at her body carefully. She was slim and looked like she was 16 or 17 years old. Sigh, why should I compete with a child? Yang Dingtian sighed and then walked over. Okay, don't cry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that to you. If I really touched you just now, it was just an accident. Also, you are still young. You can still develop in the future. Ning Ruhan raised her head and shouted at Yang Dingtian, I am 20 years old. Ah! Yang Dingtian was stunned. If she was still like this at 20 years old, then there was really no room for development. Don't worry, there are still people who like a girl like you. Yang Dingtian comforted. It's none of your business, you rogue. Ning Ruhan said loudly, anyway, no one wants me, and they won't look for you. Yang Dingtian sniffed and said, of course they won't look for me. I am a married man. Ning Ruhan ignored him. She still sat on the ground, hugging her knees and crying. On one hand, she was crying because of Yang Dingtian's poisonous tongue. On the other hand, she was crying because Dongfang Bingling didn't save her. She completely regarded Dongfang Bingling as her idol, as her sister, and as the closest person to her. But she didn't expect that Dongfang Bingling didn't care about her life or death at all. Yang Dingtian suddenly sighed and said, it's not worth it to be sad because of a cold-blooded and heartless person. Also, in the future, you should learn less about Dongfang Bingling. It's none of your business, you rogue. Ning Ruhan cried. You only know this sentence, right? Yang Dingtian said. He then ignored her and immediately stood up to look for Shimen Lai. He quickly found Shimen Lai, who was just a few meters away from him. At this time, Shimen Lai was sitting with his eyes closed, and a powerful profound qi suddenly burst out from his body. Then, Yang Dingtian clearly saw countless stones flying towards him like bullets, but before they could get close, they were directly repelled by Shimen Lai's profound qi. The two women in the sky were fighting fiercely, and countless sword qi shot to the ground, causing disaster to almost every inch of the ground. Wherever the sword qi of the two women went, everything would be smashed to pieces. But when the sword qi shot towards Yang Dingtian, it was directly repelled by Shimen Lai's profound qi. Yang Dingtian instantly felt warm in his heart. It turned out that during this period of time, Shimen Lai had been using his own profound qi to protect him. Yang Dingtian knew that the consumption of such profound qi was extremely shocking. Thank you, big brother. Yang Dingtian then drew his night owl giant blade and went to Shiman Lai's side. At this moment, Dongfang Bingling and Dugu Fengwu's battle in the sky had reached the climax. Yang Dingtian could see that all the buildings and gardens were basically destroyed. The two women's sword lights were blue in color and red in color. With a casual slash, the entire sturdy house was instantly turned into smithereens, and there was a crack that was dozens of meters long on the ground. After a few minutes of this crazy battle, the entire manor was in a mess. All the ponds were sealed in ice. Large patches of the forest were burned into charcoal. Half of the Catkin manor was destroyed, and the two women were still evenly matched. Looking at the dazzling sword lights that were a few hundred meters in the sky, they were constantly piercing through the night sky. The two people's sword chi were like cannonballs. Wherever they hit, that place would be completely turned into fine powder. These two women were indeed the two most powerful women in the world. Big brother, which one do you think is stronger? Yang Dingtian asked. Shiman Lai shook his head and said, I can't tell. They are evenly matched. Compared to Big Brother, how is it? Yang Dingtian asked. Currently, in Cloud Heaven City, no one is their match, including Yang Yan. Shiman Lai said, if it is me, I am about 7 or 8 levels lower than them. Then Big Brother is also very strong. Yang Dingtian said, in Cloud Heaven City, other than Yang Yan, no one is Big Brother's match. No, Shiman Ju is stronger than me. It is just that he is too good at hiding. Even I don't know how strong he is. Right at this moment, the sky suddenly exploded with an incomparably resplendent radiance, followed by an earth-shattering sound. One red and one blue, the two enormous energies were like Mars crashing into Earth as they violently clashed together. It was obvious that Dongfang Bingling and Dugu Fengwu's battle had reached its climax, and the two of them had delivered the final fatal blow. In an instant, the entire night sky was completely torn apart, and a radius of a few miles was as bright as day. After that, the rocks on the ground were sent flying, the trees were broken, and the hard stone slabs were sent flying, shattering into pieces in the air. Countless mystic chi shot onto the ground, leaving behind deep holes. Shiman Lai's body suddenly burst forth with a powerful mystic chi, which deflected all the flying rocks that landed around Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian brandished the night owl giant sword in his hand and desperately slashed at the flying rocks that were flying over. Ning Ruhan, who was behind him, was directly hit by the mystic chi and instantly fainted. Bang! Bang! In an instant, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt his vision blur, and two intoxicating fragrances burrowed into his nostrils. Dugu Fengwu and Dongfang Bingling descended from the sky and actually landed on both sides of Yang Dingtian. They were only 10 steps away from Yang Dingtian, sandwiching Yang Dingtian in the middle. Right at this moment, the golden mask on Dugu Fengwu's face suddenly split open silently, revealing her true appearance. This was an absolutely beautiful face, a face that could directly pierce through one's soul. She was different from the traditional beautiful women, and this woman was filled with heroic spirit. No matter if it was the brows that were as sharp as a lancet, or the tall and straight nose, or the elegant and delicate red lips, or the slender face that looked like it was carved out of jade. Every part of this face was filled with absolute beauty. Within the heroic spirit, there was a trace of special charm. Within the delicateness, there was a trace of special young beauty. This kind of beauty reminded Yang Dingtian of a person. It was Dongfang Booby from the movie, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Dongfang Booby. This Dugu Fengwu in front of him had Dongfang Booby's heroic spirit and seductive charm, but her face was even more beautiful and enchanting than Dongfang Booby. It was obvious that the victor had been decided between the two. There was a trace of blood on the corner of Dugu Fengwu's mouth. She was injured. On the other hand, Dongfang Bingling only had a pale face and didn't bleed. It was obvious that in this pinnacle battle, Dongfang Bingling was slightly superior. Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes revealed an unruly gaze as she spoke coldly, Dongfang Bingling is indeed formidable. However, you're only slightly stronger than me. It's impossible for you to keep me here. Dongfang Bingling spoke coldly, can't keep you here. Not necessarily. Today, you might die here. Following that, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes suddenly looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Senior brother Yang, go and kill this demonic woman. You will be the hero of the Tiando League, and Cloud Heaven City will be the hero of the Tiando League. Yang Dingtian was instantly shocked. This demonic woman was already heaven-defying, and Dongfang Bingling actually wanted him to kill her. Dongfang Bingling said, don't worry. This demonic woman's mystic chi is almost depleted. You have Shiman Lai's help. If you want to kill her, it will be easy. Dugu Fengwu instantly sneered and said, Dongfang Bingling, aren't you the same? You may have defeated me, but how much mystic chi do you have left? Following that, Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes looked at Yang Dingtian and said, you are Yang Dingtian. If I didn't remember wrongly, you and Dongfang Bingling have a death feud. Now is the best opportunity. The three of us will work together to kill Dongfang Bingling. I guarantee that no one will know. Chapter 96. Yang Dingtian was astonished as he didn't expect that he would be the one to decide the fates of these two absolute geniuses. Whoever he wanted to kill, that person would die. Senior brother Yang, what are you waiting for? Everyone has the right to punish the evil Dao. You are also a member of the Tiando League. Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes stared intently at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian, what are you waiting for? Dongfang Bingling is your greatest enemy in this lifetime. If you don't kill her now, when will you? Dugu Fengwu spoke with a slightly hoarse voice. Yang Dingtian didn't finish his words as he looked at Yang Dingtian. No matter what decision Yang Dingtian made, he would support him. Kill Dugu Fengwu. Then Yang Dingtian would have to face the pursuit of the Temple of Blood for the rest of his life. The Temple of Blood was one of the leaders of the evil ways, and it was extremely mysterious and powerful. Before he was strong enough, Yang Dingtian wasn't willing to provoke such an enemy. Help Dugu Fengwu to kill Dongfang Bingling? That was even more impossible. Even though he hated Dongfang Bingling to the bone, she was his master's only daughter. Most importantly, he wanted to defeat her fair and square and take back his dignity. He didn't want to kill her like this. In an instant, Yang Dingtian slowly turned around and faced Dugu Fengwu. This absolutely beautiful demon woman spoke indifferently, have you made your choice? Are you going to be enemies with my Temple of Blood? Don't you hate Dongfang Bingling? Of course I hate her. Yang Dingtian said, but you killed people like slaughtering chickens and dogs. You treated human lives like grass. How can I be on the same side as you when you are so evil? What did those people do wrong? If you want to find Dongfang Bingling, why do you have to kill the innocent? Another pedantic fool. Being weak is a kind of mistake. Dugu Fengwu sneered and said, if you want to kill me, come at me. Senior brother Yang, you still have a sense of justice in your heart, Dongfang Bingling said. Yang Dingtian ignored Dongfang Bingling and said to Dugu Fengwu, I will count to 10. Once I am done, I will immediately kill you with Shiman Lai. Dongfang Bingling was shocked and said, Yang Dingtian, what do you mean? Don't tell me you're going to let her go. 1, 2, 3. As for Shiman Lai on the side, he pulled out his greatsword. As long as Yang Dingtian counted to 10, he would immediately attack. At this moment, Dugu Fengwu revealed a complacent smile. Ha! Dongfang Bingling, your fiancé is quite interesting. He wants to let me go, but he still finds such an excuse. But you're really a failure as a person. Even your fiancé is estranged from you. Immediately after, Dugu Fengwu's delicate body suddenly turned into a shadow and quickly vanished in front of Yang Dingtian. Goodbye, Dongfang Bingling. I will come and find you again in the future. The day I refine my sword's soul will be the day you, Dongfang Bingling, die. Yang Dingtian, you actually dare to threaten me. The next time I meet you, I will definitely tear you into pieces. Fuck. Yang Dingtian was instantly enraged. He didn't listen to Dongfang Bingling to kill Dugu Fengwu, and he also didn't expect this demon lady to remember this favor. But when he heard such heartless words from this demon lady, he couldn't help but be enraged. After Dugu Fengwu left, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes stared coldly at Yang Dingtian. Do you know what kind of mistake you have made? If you let this demon lady off today, how many people will die tragically under her sword in the future? Yang Dingtian had a mocking expression as he said, there were quite a few today. Even your servant girl nearly died under the demon lady's sword chi. Why didn't I see you bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind? What do you know? Dongfang Bingling spoke with a cold voice. I am not going to argue with you. Arguing with a woman like you is like playing the lute to a cow. Yang Dingtian sneered and said, I just want to tell you two things. First, you can treat others as dirt. But you better treat the people around you better. For example, Master's wife and that silly and flat Ning Ruhan beside you. You are the silly and flat one. Ning Ruhan had just woken up and heard Yang Dingtian's vicious tongue. She immediately shouted with anger, you stinky rogue. You are not allowed to speak to young lady like this. Yang Dingtian said, see? Such a silly girl. It isn't easy to find one. Ning Ruhan was so angry that she couldn't speak. Second, Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, 5 years from now, I will go to the Yinyang school and challenge you. If I lose, I will die in the Yinyang school. If I win, I will take back the dignity that you trampled on and take back the Yinyang school principal position that master gave to me. I am serious. Don't treat this as a joke. Dongfang Bingling stared coldly at Yang Dingtian and nodded. Okay, I understand. 5 years from now, you will go to the Yinyang school and fight me to the death. The winner will become the Yinyang school principal. The loser will die. Yang Dingtian said, if I win, I won't take your life. I only want an apology. Dongfang Bingling said indifferently, if I lose to you, how can I have the face to live in this world? When the time comes, I will chop off your head to warn the world that I, Dongfang Bingling, am not someone that anyone can blaspheme. She was still so aloof and looked down on people like they were nothing. Yang Dingtian sneered, but he didn't want to say anything else. Goodbye. See you at the Yinyang school in 5 years. Then, he turned around and walked out of the ruins of Katkin Mountain Village with Shimen Lai. After Yang Dingtian walked out of Katkin Mountain Village, he found that the arrogant little beauty Ning Ruhan was also following behind him. What? Yang Dingtian asked. I came to send you off. Can't I? Ning Ruhan said. She could even say such words so fiercely. Yang Dingtian said, at least you have a conscience. I didn't save you for nothing. Bah, don't think too highly of yourself. Ning Ruhan said, young mistress asked me to tell you that because you weren't stupid enough to team up with Dugu Fengwu, Cloud Heaven City won't be expelled from the Tiando League. Then, I will have to thank Fairy Dongfang. Yang Dingtian sneered. Now, you can scram, you rogue, Ning Ruhan said. Yang Dingtian didn't bother about it. He waved his hand and walked out of the village. He casually caught 2 war horses that were still alive and comforted them. Then, he jumped on the back of the horse and galloped towards Cloud Heaven City. Yang Dingtian, you damn rogue. I am not a tablet, I am not a tablet. Yang Dingtian and Shimen Lai traveled as fast as lightning. The next afternoon, they finally arrived at the foot of Cloud Heaven Mountain. Yang Dingtian originally wanted Shimen Lai to return to Black Blood Castle first, but he insisted on sending Yang Dingtian into the city first before returning. As they followed the wide stone path up the mountain, Yang Dingtian felt that something was wrong. This was because there wasn't a single person on the stone path to Cloud Heaven City. This shouldn't be the case. Usually, there would be many people on the stone path in the afternoon. After walking for more than 10 miles, they were almost at Cloud Heaven City, but there was still no one. Yang Dingtian and Shimin Lai couldn't help but look at each other. Then, they sped up and rushed towards Cloud Heaven City. Soon, the two of them arrived at Cloud Heaven City's gates. But at this moment, Cloud Heaven City's gates were tightly shut. Usually, Cloud Heaven City's gates would only close at around 8 in the evening. Moreover, the city guards on the city walls acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They rarely opened their giant crossbows, but at this moment, they were fully opened and filled with giant crystal arrows. The city walls were densely packed with fully armed Cloud Sky City infantrymen. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian and Shimin Lai's expressions changed. Something had happened in Cloud Heaven City. Who are you? Leave immediately. Otherwise, we'll kill you without mercy. On top of the city walls, there was a shout. Then, dozens of crossbows were aimed at Yang Dingtian and Shimin Lai below. Shimin Lai took off his cloak and said coldly, "It's young master Yang Dingtian and me. Black Blood Cavalry Commander Shimin Lai, open the gates immediately." Just as Shimin Lai finished his words, the sound of weapons being drawn could be heard from the city walls. They had actually treated them as enemies. "Why aren't you opening the gates?" Shimin Lai shouted coldly. A moment later, the giant city gates slowly opened, and a group of cavalrymen came out in formation. They stared at Yang Dingtian and Shimin Lai with eagle-like eyes. They were filled with vigilance and coldness. The leader was Shimin Yan. "Shimin Yan, what happened in Cloud Heaven City? Why is it so heavily guarded?" Shimin Lai asked coldly. "Miss Tang Xian was killed," Shimin Yan said. Shimin Yan said, "The murderer is Yan Shimin. She has been placed under house arrest by the Elders Guild and is awaiting trial. This is a serious matter. In order to prevent a prison break, the entire city is under martial law." His voice wasn't loud, but to Yang Dingtian and Shimin Lai, it was like a bolt from the blue. How could it be? Yang Dingtian knew Yan very well. Although she was unruly and willful, she was kind-hearted. She might accidentally injure others in a moment of desperation, but she would never take the initiative to kill. Moreover, after the upheaval 5 years ago, Yan's cultivation had regressed greatly. She was almost as strong as Tang Xian, so how could she kill Tang Xian? Why did Yan kill Tang Xian? Do you have evidence? Yang Dingtian asked anxiously. Who do you think you are? Do I have to report to you? Shimin Yan said coldly. Yang Dingtian took a few deep breaths to suppress his emotions and blood that were about to explode. He calmed himself down a little and turned to Shimin Lai. Big brother, return to Black Blood Castle immediately and lead the Black Blood Cavalry to surround Cloud Heaven City. Shimin Yan heard and said in shock, Yang Dingtian, are you rebelling? Yes. Shimin Lai said and immediately turned to mount his horse. He faced Yang Dingtian and said, Young master, before my Black Blood Cavalry arrives, don't do anything. I understand, Yang Dingtian said. Shimin Yan looked at Shimin Lai's back and shouted, Boss, are you crazy? Are you trying to divide Cloud Heaven City? Shimin Lai said coldly, You are the crazy ones. Then, he whipped his horse and quickly rushed to Black Blood Castle. Yang Dingtian glanced at Shimin Yan coldly and then rushed into Cloud Heaven City. Just as he rushed into the city, Yan's maid, Lu was already waiting there. She said to Yang Dingtian, Young master, young mistress has been locked up by them. Quickly go and save her. What exactly is going on with Yan killing people? Yang Dingtian asked. As Yang Dingtian spoke, he suddenly lifted Lu onto the horse's back and urged her to speak quickly. Yesterday, not long after young master left, Tang Xian ran to young mistress's courtyard and scolded her. Her words were very unpleasant and they were all about you. She said that she wanted to tear you into pieces. Then, she scolded young mistress, madam, and the city lord. Lu said. She scolded young mistress until she cried. Young mistress was very angry and said something in anger. She said that Tang Xian really wanted to kill her. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. And then, young mistress was afraid that Tang Xian would scold her again, so she left the city before dawn to avoid her. She said that she was going to pick you up on the way home and that she wanted to discuss with you about moving to Black Blood Castle first. Lu cried and said. In the end, a few hours later, young mistress was brought back by Shiman Ju along with Tang Xian's corpse. Then, young mistress was put under house arrest. Yang Dingtian frowned. There was too little information in Lu's words. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian firmly believed that Yan Yan wouldn't kill anyone. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left the city before dawn to avoid Tang Xian. Where is Madam? Where is Big Sister Ningning? Yang Dingtian asked. Madam is confronting Grand Elder Yang Yan at the Elders Guild. Big Sister Ningning is waiting for you in the small building, Lu said. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and decided to go to Ningning's place first. There were some things that Ningning could explain more clearly. Once they reached the Elders Guild, they would be at daggers drawn. After returning to the small building, Ningning immediately propped herself up from her seat. In the end, she couldn't move her lower body and nearly fell down. Yang Dingtian hurriedly went over and hugged her. At this moment, Ningning's eyes were red, and she had an anxious expression. However, she comforted him with a gentle voice, Little Tian, don't be anxious. Let's plan properly. Big Sister Ningning, did Yan Yan actually kill anyone? I don't believe that she would kill anyone, even though Tang Xian, that slut, deserved to die. Yang Dingtian said. I also don't believe that Yan Yan would kill anyone. However, they said that there are witnesses and evidence. As for whether she actually killed anyone, we will only know after we meet Yan Yan. Ningning said. Where is Yan Yan being put under house arrest? Yang Dingtian asked. Law Enforcement Pavilion. Ningning said, I have already sent out dozens of birds and asked them to ask all the birds and beasts on Cloud Sky Mountain. I hope that some bird or animal saw what happened. However, the birds that came back all said that no animal saw anything. Big Sister Ningning, you continue to wait for the birds here. I will go to the Elder Council. Yang Dingtian said. Okay. Ningning said, Little Tian, you must stay calm. I have already asked Big Brother Shiman Lai to lead the troops here. When the time comes, we will use force to force them to call for reinforcements. Yang Dingtian said. Unless it is absolutely necessary, we cannot start a war. Ningning said, however, we must be prepared for the worst. I will immediately summon all the demonic beasts in the surrounding 100 miles to help us. Okay. Yang Dingtian said. Then, he walked out of the pavilion and headed to the Elder Council. However, Madame Shiman was no longer in the Elder Council. Only Yang Yan was there. If you want to plead for leniency, you don't have to speak. Yang Yan said directly, the law is merciless. Yan Shiman killed a fellow disciple for no reason. Even if City Lord Shiman was here, he would still sentence her to death. Great Elder Yang Yan was cold and merciless the moment he opened his mouth. He directly wanted to cut off Yang Dingtian's mouth. Did Shiman Ju personally see Yan Shiman kill someone? Yang Dingtian asked. Yang Yan glanced at Yang Dingtian indifferently and said coldly, bring her in. Suddenly, two warriors walked in carrying a corpse. Take a look for yourself. Yang Yan suddenly lifted the cloth covering the corpse. Sure enough, it was Tang Xian's corpse. At this moment, she was completely naked. The wounds on her body could be seen clearly. On her chest, there was a glaring sword wound. This sword wound was very severe. It was fiery red, like a blossoming flame. Only Yan Yan's phoenix flame sword could have such an effect. Because the phoenix flame sword had the innate fire attribute, the moment it pierced into a human body, it would fiercely roast the body, leaving behind a bright flame mark. The wound on Tang Xian's body was caused by the phoenix flame sword. The wound on Shimen Yanyan Shimen's body was caused by the sharp sword in Tang Xian's hand. When Shimen Ju rushed over, Tang Xian was lying on the ground dead. Shimen Yanyan Shimen was holding the phoenix flame sword dripping with blood. What's the difference between this and what Shimen Ju saw with his own eyes? Yang Yan said coldly. Furthermore, Shimen Yanyan Shimen and Tang Xian always had old grudges. Yesterday, Shimen Yanyan Shimen also threatened to kill Tang Xian. There is a motive, a witness, and evidence. Don't tell me you still want to overturn the heavens? It seemed like the evidence was irrefutable, but Yang Dingtian firmly did not believe that Yanyan Shimen would kill someone. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian asked, then what have you decided to do? How are you going to deal with Yanyan Shimen? Yang Yan said coldly, according to the second law of Cloud Heaven City, those who harm their fellow disciples will be killed. This was personally announced by Shimen City Lord himself. Shimen Yanyan Shimen killed her fellow disciple for no reason. The evidence is irrefutable. She will be hanged 3 days later. Then, Yang Yan stared coldly at Yang Dingtian as if waiting for him to plead for mercy. At this moment, Yang Dingtian should be negotiating with him. However, he didn't want to do so now because Shimen Lai's army had not arrived yet. I want to see Yanyan Shimen, Yang Dingtian said. Even with the witness and evidence, he still didn't believe that Yanyan Shimen Ju would kill Tang Xian. Seeing that Yang Dingtian didn't want to negotiate, Yang Yan's expression instantly turned cold. He said, she is under house arrest in the law enforcement pavilion. Shimen Ju is in charge of all internal affairs in Cloud Heaven City. Whether he allows you to see her or not is up to him. When Yang Dingtian went to the law enforcement pavilion, he indeed saw a group of martial artists standing guard. They were fully armed and had cold expressions, not allowing anyone to enter. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian didn't know any of the martial artists in this group. In the backyard of the law enforcement pavilion, Yang Dingtian found Shimen Ju. This was the chief supervisor of Cloud Heaven City, Yanyan's former lover, and Shimen Wuya's most outstanding foster son. At this moment, there wasn't any sorrow on his face. Tang Xian was his fiancé. Now that Tang Xian was dead, he was still expressionless and didn't have any emotions. Yang Dingtian had never spoken to Shimen Ju face to face because he felt that this person was too gloomy, like a bottomless black well. I want to see Yanyan, Yang Dingtian said. Shimen Ju slowly looked at him and nodded. All right. Then, Shimen Ju directly left the backyard and came to the entrance of the law enforcement pavilion. He took out a key to open the door and walked underground. Yanyan Shimen was actually locked up in a solitary underground forbidden room of the law enforcement pavilion. After opening the huge lock on the thick iron door of the forbidden room, Shimen Ju said, she is inside. Go in and see her yourself. Yang Dingtian pushed open the iron door and was about to enter. Yang Dingtian, do you want to hear a sentence from me? Shimen Ju suddenly asked. Speak, Yang Dingtian said. Shimen Ju looked at him with deep and serene eyes and said, you are too eager to prove yourself. Then, Shimen Ju turned and left. Yang Dingtian gently pushed open the iron door. Who is it? Yanyan Shimen Ju's voice that was filled with hostility and alertness came from inside. It's me, Yang Dingtian said gently, you're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.